was 1 month pregnant. So I was just telling her or him, I'm going to fight because of you. No, I remember saying, no, I can't do anything to myself, you know. I can't do anything bad to myself because now you're here and I can't do it to you too, you know. Because me aki kama siwa mtoto asingekuwa hapa. I'd already given up. She sent me to Juja to come and study, not to get impregnated. I came to Nairobi kupiga umalaya, and that I probably don't even know who my baby daddy is. She regrets wasting her youth on us, because if she had known the kind of mess would have become, she would have remarried and got other kids, you know.
What do you think your mom should have done different?
Is first of all accept, yeah. You know, divorce is a very huge problem or huge thing that is unfortunate and sad and everything. I think she should have accepted, you know, that now this is it. I need to figure out a way for me and my kids, you know.
You know, some people might say you don't understand your mom. Maybe she's dealing with her own things. This is emotional for her. Cut her some slack. She's also a human being. What do you say?
That I'm also a human being, you know, and we all have our problems to deal with. But you see, she's not my aunt or my mom's friend or just a neighbor. She's my mom. So sometimes as a mom, you need to put aside everything and just be there for your kid, you know.
A very good morning to you and a warm welcome to LNS Rebuilding Restoration Series. My name is Lynn Ngugi. Majority of you have seen my guest on TikTok, and I'm saying there's something happening with this generation if we do not pay attention, because I know right now it's actually a competition because other generations versus Gen Z. But if you've been with me on this platform, I've always had a soft heart for Gen Zs, because sometimes I even speak to them off camera and I'm like, these people are just a reflection of what we did not do right or what we did wrong as a society. She's very outspoken about her experiences, and for every parent that is watching this right now, I would urge you to watch it and see what are some of the lessons that you can be able to pick as a parent. She says the whole thing is not to make her mom look bad, but she is also a result of neglected parenthood, and she wants to caution, just parents against some of the things that we do to our children, thinking this is a punishment. Sometimes I know you can always be bitter if your partner walks out and they leave you with just, nothing, just the kids. The kids can actually be a reminder of what did not work out, and you project your emotions to them. But one of the things these kids are not doing, they are not pretending to forget what hurt them most. And that's why maybe they are very outspoken about it, even in their social platforms. We'll be talking to her, hearing her story, and seeing what we can be able to learn from her. Even as a young mom right now, I was like, you are born 1999 and you've gone through all these things that you've gone through. Guys, come on, we can do better as a society. So we are about to listen to her story. But before I do that, guys, of course, I want to say thank you so much to our people at Maridadi Motors and Kings Developers Limited for coming through and sponsoring this episode. Just a reminder, Maridadi are doing great things when it comes to importing good vehicles for you. And they also have a driving school, they have an investment circle, and also they do have a beautiful car wash called Sparkling. Pass by and experience their great services. And also to thank Team Kings Developers Limited, who are beautiful apartments apartments. They have great apartments for you. Check them out on the screens. Unaona hizo manyumba? Yes, walk to their beautiful place in Prism Towers, 5th floor, so they can take you through what they have. And remember, if you have any questions about any of our sponsors, info@lnn.digital is where you can be able to get me with any of your feedback, and also to say thank you to you guys who are watching. Aki aibu, if you are watching this and you've not subscribed, ebu ona venye yani, me I wake up to put my foundation na kila kitu just to make sure I bring you guys a good show. For the support of me and my team, the best you can do is be able to subscribe so we hit that 1 million mark. It's very free. It won't cost you anything. All you need to do is hit that button so that our work can be able to get recommended to a lot of people. And also to thank my incredible team that gets to put this work together. Scholar, Muga, Dama, Edwin, I appreciate you, and the entire management at LNN, and our amazing editors that you do not get to see in front of the camera. Takes an entire village, and I hope you are really enjoying our work. Na pia corrections zikuje kwa ile njia yenye inafaa tukikosea pahali, si ndio? And now, without further ado, please allow me to let my guest today introduce herself. Hi.
Hey, thank
How
you so
are
much
you?
for having me here.
You are most welcome. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling a bit nervous,
Yes.
but composed at the same time.
You will not believe me. There is a whole black and black thing going
I
on.
know, right?
My first guest in the morning,
was wearing black.
very black.
Oh, wow.
Victor was wearing black from head to toe, only his shoes.
Yeah.
Now you show up also in black.
In
I'm
black.
like, maybe I should start a whole black movement.
Maybe.
You know, but I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank you so much.
You're getting a lot of attention on TikTok.
Yeah. I can't afford therapy, so listen. This is part 1 of a series called Mommy Issues. The series is called Mommy Issues because it's about my own journey into motherhood, the circumstances that led into it, and my experiences so far. Now, my story is not meant to criticize my parents. It's just to show you how fast bad decisions can escalate and potentially create generational trauma, you know.
People are really getting to watch your series. You did an entire series on TikTok, and we'll get, you know, just to get to understand why you did what you did.
Okay.
But before, you know, we go any further, could you please introduce yourself and tell our people what you do?
Okay. My name is Abigail Wambui, or Mama Aria. I'm mom to a very beautiful 6-year-old. Her name is Aria. Right now, I'm a content creator, rather upcoming content creator, and I'm also a florist. I make and sell bouquets on TikTok as well.
Never say you are an upcoming content creator. You are a content creator.
Thank you for the
I need to
correction.
get
Yes.
You are a content creator.
Creator.
I know sometimes when we use terms as upcoming or I want, it's because there is that fear in us, because we feel like we are not enough, or because we feel like there is a level we've imagined we need to be that we are not there yet. But it can also be very limiting.
That's
so
true.
you are an amazing content creator.
Thank
all right?
you.
Good, good, good. I'm happy to have had you come on this conversation, and thank you even for accepting our invite. But I remember before the cameras started rolling, I asked you something. What do you want to accomplish by telling your story?
Now, my story is mostly geared towards families that experience either separation or something that makes it such that it's only one parent taking care of the kids, yeah? Okay, now, I was born in 1999 to two very beautiful and young parents. They married very young. My mom was 19, my father was 29. So after I was born, 5 years later, my brother was born in 2004, and then something happened and they broke up, yeah? So when they broke up, my father left and went back to his hometown, and we were left to be raised by my mother in Lamu, Mpeketoni, Lamu. Yeah. But somehow the whole separation thing, or they weren't divorced yet at the time, the divorce happened much later because they had been married legally in a church wedding. Yeah. So the whole thing, I don't know what happened, but my mother was quite bitter about it. Understandable, because nobody wants to get married and get left with two kids to raise. Yeah. But as a result, it made her, I feel like she projected her frustrations on us as kids, yeah, and we could feel it, and we are still feeling it right now. Yeah, 20 years later, and I don't know why she doesn't seem to heal from it. I know healing takes time, but kids are supposed to be your priority, whether or not you're raising them alone. Yeah. Yes.
All right. So walk me through extensively life growing up. You've said you could still feel her projection. Even right now, you are still feeling her projection towards you. Extensively walk us through how you were raised up and what are some of the things that were done that you feel could have been dealt with differently.
Okay, the main thing, well, not really the main thing, but I feel like most of the African kids have been through the beatings and everything throughout our childhood, yeah?
Yes.
But for some reason, I feel mine was different because the punishment was not equating to the level of sin. You know, I don't know whether that makes sense.
A lot of sense.
But you find that something so small gets you a very huge beating. And you see, at some point, like when I'm, I don't know, 8, 10 years old, it starts to make sense, and you start to wonder, why am I being beaten up for this, you know? Because, I don't know, in as much as my mom might say I was a troubled child, I don't think I was. Maybe I was, but one thing I know I was very intelligent. I was very smart at school. At primary school, I was a very smart kid, yeah?
Yeah.
So now that I'm grown and even seeing my daughter and she's like the exact replica of me, I feel like sometimes it's important to appreciate kids for what they are rather than what they are not. You do get my point?
I get you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So my mom didn't really see any good parts of me. Unfortunately, it was always, what am I doing wrong, you know? And most of the times, even while beating us up, her justification was always that she's raised us, rather she's raising us with difficulties, and our father left, and bado tunamsumbua akili, you know. And it makes sense, but to some extent, you know, you start to question. I remember at some point when I was young, I remember asking my aunt, my mom's younger sister, whether my mom is really my mom. And I don't know, somehow I thought my mom's sister, mwingine sasa, was my mom because of how she loved me and took care of me. One other thing that was quite prevalent was the issue of her needing to take responsibility for us, yeah? So unapata in school, in primary school, whenever we need to pay for something, she just doesn't feel like it's her job to do it, unaona? So sometimes I could get chased away from school to get, I don't know, money for exams. You see, those kinds of small fees. And mind you, I don't know whether you know, but back then when we were in primary school, education was free. So ilikuwa hiyo time ya Kibaki, yeah? So the only money we used to pay was, I think, PTA fees, exam fees, 120 bob here and there. And she gives you the phone to call your father to ask for the money. And I don't know. It's just, at the time, it didn't feel like anything because, you know, I was still young, too young to understand.
Yeah.
But now looking back, it just doesn't make sense to me, especially now that I have my own child. And I cannot imagine giving her the phone to ask her father for anything, really. You know, especially something as basic as exam money, you know.
Is it
not like
money she had or she was lacking?
Now, here's the thing. My mom, I wouldn't say she was very well off. Even her, she knows part of the reason she says she struggled was because she wasn't very financially stable. But money is supposed to be looked for, sindio? So she was working at the market, alikuwa, selling vegetables and fruits and everything. And one thing is, we never lacked. We were always full. Like, hatukuwa ikosa kushiba. We had a roof over our head. We had clothes on our bodies. But when it came to everything else, she made sure to remind us that this is not her job, you know.
Kuwalea.
Exactly. Baba yenu alifanya, unaona. Yeah, so I can't really, I don't know. I can't speak to her financial situation back then, but 120 bob. Knowing very well that, like, you've been in school for the whole term and you know at the end of the term exams are supposed to be done, why wouldn't you look for the money? You know? Yeah, so I don't know whether I'm judging harshly, because at Mimi right now, I have my own moments where money is tight and everything. But my first thought is not, Ati, where is my baby daddy in this? You know, it's always, where am I going to get the money to buy my child this and this, or to pay for her hospital, or to buy her medicine, you know? Yeah, so that's one thing I feel is very prominent or prevalent among single moms. I don't know whether it's just in Kenya, but hiyo bitterness, hiyo ya kuachwa and everything, it just really affects kids in ways they wouldn't really understand.
Walk me through high school, and how are you able to make it through high school? And at that point, you know, you're in your teenage years, you're starting to evolve, you know, from a girl to a young woman. Of course, there are a lot of things happening in your life. How are you first able to get to high school? And also when you are dealing with these moments in your life where what is happening to my life, why you able to talk to her?
Now, I luckily, very, very luckily, got a scholarship by Wings to Fly, the Equity Bank program. So my high school was catered for everything. They used to give us everything from pocket money to shopping, literally everything, including sugar and sanitary towels, So all through high school, I never needed anything from any of my parents at all, because they even catered for our fare to and from school, So the whole time, I can't say we talked or didn't talk, but you see, the whole relationship we've had throughout the childhood, it makes it such that I'm not very open to her and to a lot of, to discuss a lot of things that I feel moms and daughters should discuss, So I mostly just stayed away and did my own thing. So I came to school in Nairobi, so we rarely met. So at that time, I don't know where she was or what she was doing with her life, because I used to come to school during midterm. I'd either go, at some point I went to my shushu's place. Throughout high school, I was rarely visited. It's something I even mentioned on TikTok. Like for visiting days, for anything, nobody ever showed up, She only came to my school once when enrolling me, and that was it, So throughout my 4 years, I could bring myself to school and take myself home. And you can imagine how it feels, because most of the people are being brought by their parents and taken home by their parents, But it gets to a point you get used to it, and that's okay. So I was fine pretty much most of the time, But in Form 4, the visiting day, the big one we had in Form 4, my father came together with his sister, and that was very much fun, because I'd never experienced that before, like having your parents or whatever bring you food. You know, it's a very special moment and everything, So when the end of KCSE came, rather when we approached the end of KCSE, we had discussed and agreed that she was going to come pick me up from school, because I don't know why it still hurts. So we had discussed that she was going to come pick me up from school, and I was extremely excited, because now remember, she'd never come to my school before except that once, Now this is a special moment, because KCSE is over, you're now an outsider, you know. I just needed her to be there for that moment, So 3 days, approximately 3 days to a week before the end of KCSE, she calls the office to say she won't make it because she does not have fare. And like at that point, I was obviously angry and I was sad and frustrated, that's the word. But then she said she was going to send her sister that lives in Nairobi. But I didn't want her sister. You see, I wanted her, you know. So I told her, tell my aunt not to come, I'll find my own way home, and now looking back, I usually ask myself, it's been 4 years of you not paying for anything. Mbona unakosa fare? you know, ya kunikujia shule, unaona. So at some point si kukosa, ni ati utaki kutafuta.
It's a choice.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so I found my way home.
What happened after?
Now I get home and I believe that now that I'm done with exams, now an outsider, now I am free to, I don't know, hang around. All the friends I couldn't see before, now I can see, you know. Turns out no. Because one thing my mother always said is that as long as you're living under her roof, you have to live by her rules. Yeah. One time my mom traveled and went to Mombasa. So I thought I am now free. Like I can now breathe, have the house to myself. Yeah. Yes. At that time I had a boyfriend, and now looking back, she thought that I was going to bring my boyfriend to her house, but I wasn't going to. Like that had never crossed my mind, but I just needed to be free, you know. And I don't know whether that's a good thing, but like living with her and her strict rules, it was nice that she was away just for a moment. Yeah. But she said that I couldn't stay home. I needed to go to my nyanya's house, kwa nyanyangu sasa kwa mamake. It wasn't very far from home. I was like, man, at that time my brother had also gone to Mombasa, so I was going to be home alone for real.
Yeah.
So story kanibo, but nikasema ni sawa nitaenda kwa nyanyangu. So I went to my nyanya's house. And the first night, rather the first evening, she sent me to town to go and get supper. So we had the unga and the greens. So we needed some meat. Kanyama tu hata ikuwa pesa mingi. Was it nyama ya 50 bob ama nyama ya 100 bob, yeah? She sends me to go get meat. And I went and I got the meat. On my way back, akia Mungu tena sidanganya, nilikuwa karibu kufika home. I met a friend of mine and we stopped to talk. I don't know why we talked for so long, and then I accompanied her to her house. It wasn't very far. Mind you, that friend is a church mate, so it's somebody that like familia yao netu tunajuana tu vizuri, we go to the same church. We were talking and everything, and before I knew it, ni saa 3 ya usiku. So they asked me, are you still going home? Now, you see, I didn't tell them nimetumwa nyama, so they had no idea pia, unaona. So they tell me, you can just sleep over and go tomorrow. I was like, I thought you'd never ask. What? Like, mlikuwa mnangoja nini? Yes. You know? Yeah. And we spent the night, I don't know, I don't really know what I was thinking. Like now looking back, I can't explain what was going on in my head. So, iyo nyama, people have been asking me, nyama nilipeleka wapi?
Yes, I was about to.
Ilika kwa bag mpaka nisikasahau. I was remembering about it like 3 days later. Ilikuwa tu kwa bag. Wow. So, I had to throw it away. So, now, after the morning came of me spending the night at my friend's house, remember, I don't think I had a phone. So, my nyanya didn't know where I was. But I don't know whether she worried. She must have worried a lot. And now I think that was very stupid of me. Yeah. But now I decided, sasa naenda kufanya nini, naenda kupigwa kelele jamini. See, let me just extend so that the kelele can be.
Hey.
I'm sorry.
Hata uka extend.
So I went to town. And to Kagrese's house. Sasa tunapata hatu na beshte yangu. Achana na Kagrese. Achana na Kagrese. Yani, it's just fun. I don't know, just being around your friends and you love them and they love you back. It's just
and
a
you
fun
feel a connection.
Exactly. It's fun, yeah. So, I don't know, one thing about Kagrese's mom, she's also a very fun, loving person, something I'm not used to seeing back home, yeah? So she even had, first of all, she never knew that I was there without permission, and she didn't care to ask, because remember, these are family friends of ours. So, in my head, there's nothing wrong with me being here, you see? So, we spent a few days huko kwao, yeah? So, on like the 4th day is when it hits me, it's time to go home.
Nilikuwa nimetumwa.
Nilikuwa nimetumwa nyama bana. But something that made me remember is someone told me they've seen my mom. And now it hit me, yo, she's already back from Mombasa, I'm just dead, you know? So I decided, at that time my mom was working at a hospital, and it was actually very, Like tukisimama kwa kina Grace tunaona house ndio hii, unaona? And she could see what I was doing. She saw me all the times I was walking around. She could see me, yeah. So I decided, it's time to go home. So I go home. I have the key, yeah. I get home and the locks have been changed. So the padlock for the gate is one that she uses to lock her bedroom. So I'm like, okay, this is weird. Now I can't open the gate. So I jump over the gate to investigate further and see what's going on, you know. Wow. Yeah, so I jumped over the fence, yeah. I get to the door. Allah, there's a new padlock. I don't even know where the padlock was. I don't know for what that is locking where is now at the door. So I can't get in. So I thought, should I wait for her to find me here or should I go and face her? So I felt it's easier for me to go face her first and then nimpime kwanza nione akoaje, alafu sasa tutajua, unaona, ndio at least akija home asikuwe na hasira sana. So I will go back to the hospital. So when I get there, I call one of her workmates to call her for me because she was in a room hapo hivyo ndani. So she comes, she looks at me, akaniuliza umetoka wapi? Nikaanza kumexplain, akaniambia hataki kusikia, rudi kwenye umetoka. I'm like, wait, what? Nimesema urudi kwenye umetoka. Nimesema urudi kwenye umetoka. Now, at that time, that was my first time hearing that line, and I had no idea you're not supposed to listen to that line. So I went back.
Ukarudi?
Sasa si alisema nirudi kwenye nimetoka. Ama.
So,
now the thing is, I needed clothes to wear because at Grace's house, tumevaa nguo zake, hatujisikii kufua bado, so I need some of my own, yeah. So I went back home. Remember the padlocks are still different. Yeah. Nikaruka kwa gate tena. So I went to my room, the window to my room. I don't know why I'm smiling because it's sad, yeah. So kuna hizi dirisha, I don't know, the Costarians know, we usually put nets to prevent insects and stuff from ingiring, some green net, yeah. So nikaitoa tu kidogo, not so much such that my hand can fit in. Luckily my clothes zilikuwa tu hapo kwa kitanda, so I picked a few, nikatoka nikarudi
kwenye
umetoka. And yeah, I don't know, I didn't have a plan. I don't even know what I was thinking. Me, I was just vibes and inshallah. Ona hiyo. So one day, I remember at that time we had looked for a job. Grace ndio tulikuwa tumetafuta kazi ya kufanya tuition, ya kusomesha tuition watoto wa high school. So it's not like I was doing something, you know, see I was out there sinning. I'm out here trying to hustle bana. Banana grind. You see, it makes it even fun because I'm with my friends and everything, yeah.
And you already have a business plan.
Bana. Okay, hatukuwa tumelipwa bado, but we were getting there.
Okay.
We were getting there. Now, one day we were just chilling at some field we were with Grace, some of our friends, and my boyfriend at the time was also there. Tulikuwa tu tunapiga story. Some man shows up. He's like, habari zenu mzuri. Are you Abigail Wambui? I'm like, yes. And then he removes a badge. He's like, my name is this and this. I'm a police officer. I've been called to come and escort you to the police station. I was like, okay, that's weird, but fine, let's go. He didn't tell me who has called me to escort. He told me, let's just go, you'll see. Utajua mbele. So we went. Tulienda sasa, the other friends had dispersed, so ikabaki mimi, Grace, and my boyfriend at the time. So we get near the police station, and guess who we see?
Your mom.
My mom. And I was young and dumb, bana. So in my head, I was like, there's one uncle of mine. You see, there's always that one child mwenye kidogo, yeah. So he often gets into trouble with the law sometimes, yeah. So I thought, endo ameshikwa, tunakuja kumtoa. So at that point when you saw my mom, Grace and my boyfriend at the time decided, sasa sasa ni
no go zone.
Sasa hii deal nayo kisolo. Hapo ndo unajuanga Grace. Kumbe unaweza niachanisha wewe. Anyway, so plus hata mimi I didn't really want them to engage with her, unaona. So I went. I get to her, she wouldn't even talk to me. We're just walking now towards the police station. I'm like, fine, let's go. We get there, and there was a very lady police women. I don't know, you see women in many careers, you know. So she was there, she's like, ni huyu? And my mom is like, ni huyu. Sema sawa basi, huyu ndo amekataa kusoma. Wait, what? Hold up. Huyu ndo amefanya nini?
Amekataa
Huyu ndo
kusoma.
anasumbua mamake, amekataa kusoma. I'm like, what's going on? So nikasoma mashtaka. Shtaka la kwanza, I broke into her house. You remember me jumping over the fence?
Yes,
That I went and destroyed property. Remember your net ya window? I ran away from home. Which makes sense, but I'm thinking, you knew where I was. Is that really running away if you can see me? You know, if I wanted to run away, ningeenda tu mali utaniona, unaona? And yeah, I'm basically mtoto amemshinda kabisa, yani mimi amenishinda, nimemshinda akili. So maybe the police will do something about it. I was just bamboozled. Like, I don't know, I was just in disbelief. So si wakanipeleka kwa cell. And I stayed there for 3 nights. Yeah.
To teach you a lesson.
To teach me a lesson, yeah. Now, on the last night I spent there, I remember the OCS came, because the whole night the OCS was not around, yeah. So he came and he was looking at the mahabusu, yeah. And he's like, what's this child doing here? Because at that time I was 17. So what's this child doing here? He was told her mother brought her because ni usumbufu and everything. And then he said, hizi ni kesi za nyumbani. Mbona mnaleta mtoto polisi juu hizi mambo, unaona? So I remember it was very late at night. Was it 11 p.m. or 1 a.m. or something? He called my mom. Akamwambia kuja uchukue. Come and pick up your child, yeah?
How was the cell experience for you later on in life when you think about it?
I don't know. Okay, I don't know how to explain, because you see, cell, I don't think cell is like jail, yeah? One thing I know is that I didn't eat. Like, the food was, I don't know, I just couldn't eat your food. So I stayed hungry the whole time. But the nighttime policemen, the ones who were on patrol, like, kushikilia your place at night, they used to let me, like, come out of the cell. They gave me a bench to sleep on it. I've never told anyone that before. Yeah, so they gave me a flag. I'll never forget it. They gave me the Kenyan flag. So one thing I remember, on like the first or second night, I had an asthma attack, yeah? Because I'm asthmatic and obviously didn't have my inhaler. So she brought my inhaler and went back home.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I deserved it, you know. I should have stayed home. Nobody has ever asked me how it was there. Everyone just thinks it's fun and jokes, you know. Well, wow.
I'm just glad you've let it out.
Yeah, so she came and picked me up, and then we went home, yeah? So when we got home, remember, I hadn't eaten the whole time. Those policemen had bought me water, I think biscuits or something once in a while, yeah? But au tu wa usiku. Mchana nilikuwa nashinda huko ndani kwa cell, yeah? Because mchana, it was that lady, and that lady ndo kwanza alikuwa anachocha, you know, she's a fellow woman, you know, women standing with women, you know. So yeah, alisema, nikae tu hapo ndani, and I stayed. So when she came and picked me up, we went home. I remember I got very sick. I think, I don't know, maybe from the fatigue and from the whole experience, I got really sick, yeah. And something else I don't think I've told a lot of people. When I went to hospital, you see now, to conduct now the normal testing. Can't remember what my symptoms were, but it was just everything, like fever, kuumwa, weakness, and everything, malaria and everything, yeah. So when I went to hospital, remember she works at the hospital, yeah. So when I went, you see, they tell you they want to test for everything, your stool, your urine, and your blood, yeah. So after we got, like after the test results came out, I remember her telling me she's relieved that I'm not pregnant and I do not have HIV. So afterwards, she came up with this very brilliant idea. Akasema, since I'm just staying home, there's nothing I'm doing, maybe I should go to the bank, to Equity Bank. Remember they sponsored me throughout high school, yeah? Maybe go there and ask for a job, inishikilie tu. Maybe just see kama, at that time we called it volunteer work, and it makes sense, it's volunteer work since I was a scholar there, yeah? So I remember I went, I talked to the
supervisor?
No.
The
bank manager.
The bank manager?
So I talked to the bank manager and he agreed to give me a job. And then I think also because nobody else had ever asked for it, unaona. So they agreed, and luckily he said he was going to pay me 5,000 a month. I was like, oh wow.
Not bad.
So yeah, that's good. Yeah. So I was onboarded into the marketing department. So we used to walk around town and like the far uko ndani mashinani, telling people to open Equity Bank accounts, you know. Yeah, and that was fun, and now I was a good girl from there onwards. Yeah, I worked there until, I worked there now from, was it April, May? No, I started very early, I think March, because I remember I started before the KCSE results came out, yeah. And I had a B+ of 73 points. Yeah, and I didn't know what to feel. Unajua, at that point, am I excited? I don't know. Mi niko tu yani. Because remember, I was a smart child, so maybe it would have been a shock if I had failed, yeah. So that was good enough for me, unaona. So I remember when I went to hospital to tell my mom the grade I got. I don't know, mi sijui ama nakuanga zangu, but she didn't look too excited, you know. And the reason I know that is because I told my grandfather and he cried. He hugged me, akistai sahau, baba yangu alinihug tu sana. And I don't know, hadi nikajuza kwani wajui B+ inamaanisha nini, cause why are you so excited, you know. It's not an A, why are you so excited, yeah. But yeah, alika, I don't know, mi sikumbuki, like, cause unaona pia nilikuwa too confused zangu, yeah. But she didn't, if she was excited, I would remember it, you know. Yeah, and now I know it's because I missed the mark. Yeah. Yeah, so what happened after that? So I continued to work at the bank all through. Ikafika time ya kwenda to campus, yeah. So I got called to JKUAT to do a degree in mass communication.
Oh, look at you,
look at me now communicating to the masses.
You did that!
I know! Yeah, so that's what I got called to do. And yeah, now it's time to share the news and it's time to think about the way forward. I don't know what I was thinking, but I expected that my mother had a plan because I've been in school for 4 years. What were you expecting was going to happen after? Unaona? So I get the calling thingy comes out and I need to go to JKUAT and she doesn't have money. Where is the money? You need to call your father and ask for the money. And I was like, what? I mean, kama 120 bob ya primary school mko mnasumbuana, nini inafanya uone pesa ya university atalipa, unaona? So yeah, I called my father and he was like, first of all, we talked, he listened, nikamwambia I've been called to JKUAT and he congratulated me and everything. But he told me he doesn't have money either. You know, akaniambia venye yeye pia akukubaya and everything. What am I supposed to do with that information? So if my father says he doesn't have money and my mother says she doesn't have money, what am I supposed to do? You know? Yeah, so I told my mother what my father said, and let me take you back a little bit. When I was in high school, remember I said I used to go to midterms to my shosho's house, and that's where my father was living. My father has always been an alcoholic, like ever since I knew him, because haizi kusaidia, yeye mwenyewe haizi jisaidia, unaona?
It's sad.
So I told my mom, this man, he won't pay, he can't pay, he won't pay. so why are you still years down the line? Mbona tu tuko wimbo ya babangu alipo, unaona? And now what hurt me most is none of them have paid for anything all through high school. And I went to a very nice high school. Like, funny enough, I always tell myself that somehow it's payback for the way I didn't suffer throughout high school. So now I have to suffer now. It's time. Because I remember at some point hata siku anajua school fees ya shule yetu ni pesa ngapi. I had no idea. Mimi nilikuja kujua after. Because Equity Bank used to lipa everything juu kwa juu. Whenever you have, I don't know, trips or what, all you have to do is just go and say, this is the amount of money I need, and they give it to you. Unaona? So you've had 4 years to prepare. I don't know
figure it out.
Yeah, to figure it out. Because knowing I'm a very intelligent child, what were you thinking? You know? Yeah. So my father said he wouldn't pay, and my mother said she does not have money. So what she said was, first of all, she asked me, "Iyo 5K umekuwa ukilipo Equity iko?" I'm like, what do you mean iko? First of all, she had bought a tablet and she had given it to me because I remember hiyo time bana nilikuwa nakanyaga hiyo town, watu wananiheshimu. Mtu anafanya kazi kwa bank, usicheze. So with my 5,000, thou already nanunua MBs. Hiyo hata ni non-negotiable, but I need to be online, unaona, on Facebook. Ni online gani? So thou inaenda kwa MBs. I can't remember what I used to do with the rest, but pesa inaisha tu, yani sina, unaona. So she asks me, why didn't you save, knowing very well that you're going to university? And back then I didn't really think about it, but now I'm wondering, mi ndo nafaa kufikiria nafaa kwenda university. At that point, you remember, I'm 17. So she said, no, this is what we are going to do. I'll go take a loan from somewhere only for you to join. After that, ukifika Nairobi fanya aje?
Tafuta.
Enda utafute babako. Unaona? And I was like, perfect. Aki, mimi ni sawa, ndenda kumtafuta, ina shida. So, yeah, we agreed. She actually went with me so that I can see that she's actually taking the loan, yeah? And she did. It was, I think, 30,000. Yeah. So at that time, JKUAT fees were 16,900 and something, if I'm not wrong. And then we paid 6,500 for the hostel. Okay. For the hostel. Alafu the balance I was going to use for fare now from Lamu to Nairobi. Na pesa kidogo kidogo hapa kitambo I settle. Yeah. Remember, I have an aunt in Nairobi, so I was going to stay at her place as
before
I
you settle.
Figure out things. Yeah. So I get to my aunt's place, and then it's time for me to go to JKUAT and figure it out. Yeah. My friend was waiting for me. I had a friend waiting for me at Apo. Back then it was Barclays Bank. Yeah. So we linked up. Akanipeleka JKUAT. See, the whole process of enrolling, it entails you, I don't know, showing your receipts that you've paid, you know, you've paid for this. Anga kulikuwa na hizo medical forms, you know, a lot of forms to fill. So we did that. And then it was time for me to go to the hostel now. I'm close, you know. So I get to the hostel and I give the lady the receipt. I'm like, sasa poa, ndio nimelipa hostel. And she's like, umebook room gani? I had no idea, you know.
Like, really, they book?
Yeah, you're supposed to book prior. That 6,500 that I paid for the hostel is non-refundable. So they won't give me my money back so that I can figure out my living situation. So now what do I do? Anyway, my mama comes out with a solution. You're going to stay at whose place?
Your aunt's.
Your aunt's place. So I don't want to stay at my aunt's place, but me, I didn't come all the way from Lamu to come
stay here.
Kuishi kwa wenyewe haki, you know. So that's another instance where unaweza sema I rebelled because mi sikuwa nataka kukaa kwa auntie yangu, unaona. And I don't know, now I usually look back najiuliza, should I have? Because I don't know, now the events that followed after were because I didn't go to my aunt's place, unaona. But I don't know, I feel like now I have my daughter, and if I stayed with my aunt, singekuwa na mtoto wangu sahi. So it was all worth it, yeah. So I decided I'm going to stay at that friends of mine place. He was a guy, yeah. That came with its own set of, you know, because I didn't really want to be out there, unaona, because guys will always be guys, yeah. So I tried to avoid him as much as possible, ndio isifike point yenye, yeah, and it worked. So I stayed there for a while, but something else I used to do was hop around. Nilikuwa leo nalala kwa huyu. Remember, I've made friends. Sasa yes. I've connected with people who went to high school together. So leo nalala kwa kina Jill, kesho nimerudi kwa huyu jamaa, kesho nimetafuta ubeshte yangu mwingine, unaona. Just to, and then you remember, the more time inasonga, the more pesa inaisha. Ile pesa ulitoka nayo home inaisha. Hauna pesa ya food. Pesa ya food iko wapi? Like inafika point, you don't see the need to ask your mother for money because you know what her answer is going to be.
Automatic.
Yeah, so. Well, now, Equity again came back to the rescue because 1 month after I came to university, they called us to a conference in, was it Kasarani, I think. Now all of us that had been sponsored that made it to the university, and wow, it was fun. And then they said they're going to give all of us, kila mtu 30,000. I was like, kwani nyinyi mmetumwa? Mlijuaje nimesota? Cause like, what are the odds, you know? Wow, so that was huge news. I was very excited. I obviously shared it with my mother. Unaona, I told my mom, cheki, kumenda hivi na hivi tumepewa pesa. And one thing I've noticed about my mom, every time kuna kapesa, we become friends. And you know, it makes sense. Juu hata unaona. Now back then mimi nilikuwa nafikiria hana. So hata mimi I'm eager to tell her about my money making opportunities so that tusaidia. Unajua maisha ni kusaidiana, unaona. So I tell her tumepatiwa 30k. She's obviously very excited about it as well. First of all, tuma kadogo, and I did. Sikumbuki ilikuwa ngapi, but I think 4k or something. She needed it for something or whatever. And yeah, so I decided now it's time kutafuta nyumba because finally I have money, yeah. At that point, I remember, I don't know, now this is something I haven't told anybody before, but you remember the Equity Bank manager from way back, I think he had retired or something, okay, no, like retired or left his job in Lamu, and he lived in Nairobi, yeah? So one time, I remember I was so broke. Imagine I decided to call him to ask him for money, because I was like, who in my life can I really call anitumie pesa, unaona? So when I called him, I explained the situation, kaambia bana mimi nimekuja Juja na kimeniramba bana ni kubaya yo. So he gave me a little bit of money. So luckily hiyo time akinipea pesa ndio hiyo time Equity wali come up na hiyo kitu, unaona. So I had like a bit of extra money, like apart from your 3k, I think alikuwa amenipea 5k if I'm not wrong, yeah. So nilikuwa na saa tu extra money. So remember the friend I was living with in Juja, yeah. He had a cousin still in Juja mwenye ako na rentals. So I thought, wow, this is perfect. Now that I can afford it, twende unionyeshe nyumba. So we went, it was ni bed sitters. The other time alikuwa analipisha 6,500, but alikuja akapunguza ikakuwa 6,000, yeah. So pesa mbio kulipa. See, I have the money now. And the whole time I'm telling my mother what's going on. Yeah, so I told her nimepata hii nyumba ni ya 6,000. What do you think? Akasema ni sawa. Mimi nafikiria she still has a plan. What was I thinking? Well, haya. Nikaingia kwa nyumba. So now the point of me telling you that the manager had given me money is because hii pesa ingetosha hizi vitu zote, unaona? Because I remember I bought a mattress. I was starting from scratch. Kununua mattress, kununua stove, kununua tusahani, vikombe, mafuta ya stove, you know. So on that night that I moved into that house, I went to a party, like kulikuwa na kabash tu mahali, yeah? Hosted again by my very own Kagrace. Achanini na Kagrace. Mimi na Kagrace kwenye tumetoana hamwezi elewa. So her and a few friends had like a get together ya watu wa home, you know. I think ilikuwa birthday ya one of us. So tukaamua acha tuitane sisi watu wa Lamu, we go and have fun, yeah. So we went, and while there I met a girl we went to the same primary school with. Yeah, so she had come to study in Thika, alikuwa anasoma Thika. in a school in Thika, but she was living with her uncle in Murang'a. Unaona Thika to Murang'a is far.
Yeah.
So I told her, oh wow, I've just moved into this house, hata sijalala juu nimeweka mattress hapo leo. So akaniambia, can we stay, you know? Akaniambia, yeah, that's a very good idea, tunaweza cost share. So sasa itakuwa kila mtu. At that time rent ilikuwa bado 65, so ilikuwa iko 3,250 kila mtu. But remember, I've already paid for rent and deposit. Ngambia, that's perfect, you know, come, tutaishi tu pamoja. So it would have been easier for her to move from Juja to Thika rather than from Murang'a to Thika. And we moved in. The whole time, I'm still telling my mom what's going on. So at this point, she knows that rent imeshuka, sahi ni 1,300. Cool. Haya, simi, I moved in with my roommate. Tukaanza tu maisha hapa kule. Yeah. Pesa equity ikaanza kuisha. Okay, ikaisha hata ilisha. Ilisha, yeah? So sasa it's time to start asking my mom for money, because sasa I need to money here and there. And what's the story?
Call your father.
Call your father. At that point, I'm like, what? Really? This again? So she said this time round, she was going to sue him for child support. Okay? So there's this letter. There's usually a children's court, I think somewhere in Lamu Island. So she had gone there, got a letter, so that my father can apatiwa sign barua yenye inasema he needs to appear in court for that hearing, yeah, child support. Yeah. So So she said she's sending that letter to Nairobi. Mimi nichukue nikapelekee nani?
Your father.
My father, so he can sign and accept to go to court. Yeah. What is it a subpoena?
Yeah, it's a
now
subpoena.
Watching movies and stuff, it makes sense that it's a subpoena. Yeah?
Yes, it is.
So akatuma barua. Then she sent me the fare to go there and 1,000 bob, and told me, 1,000 bob, I want you to look for either a lawyer or a police officer to accompany you so that your father can sign it. You know, because if you go alone, he probably won't sign it. Like, so that he can alazimishwa sign barua and show up in court. I was like, cool. Cool where? Mimi nichukue dhao nikapatie mwanaume.
Kaenda hivyo.
I decided nitaenda kivyangu, kwani si ni babangu. Si nitamwambia tu andika hapa, ndio kalamu andika baba andika. So I go to my father. At that time I knew where he worked, yeah. So I get there. Like aliniangalia tu hivi akacheka, but sile kucheka laughing at me, but just laughing. Anacheka tu. Akaniambia yeye penye yako akona 30 bob. Hata fare kwenda hiyo Lamu kotini hana. He showed me his pay slip. Iko negative. Yani hadi uko kwenye anafanya kazi wanamdai. Sijui hata alikopa pesa aje uko, but hadi uko wanamdai. Because I don't know, when you're an alcoholic, so much else goes wrong in your life.
Actually, pretty much.
Because I remember he started businesses even when I was in high school. Kuna time anga alikuwa na biashara gani, anakopa pesa ndio alime sijui nini. Alafu anakunywa tu yote ama it doesn't work, because you see these things sometimes they just won't work, unaona. So sasa hana pesa na hata sign. Sasa ana sign ya nini kama haendi, hana hata fare. I remember I even thought of giving him some of that money. Nilimhurumia bana, akona 30 bob. So alikuwa ananiambia nipe hiyo 30 bob ikuwe kama fare. Hadi nikasikia vibaya, unanipe aje ka 30 bob kako kamwisho ubaki hivyo, unaona. Nikamwambia weka tu nao ina shida. I'll just go back, I have fare. So I go back to Juja and I share the news that mzee alikataa kusaini kitu. Nikampatia the whole story. I even had the photo of that pay slip. I don't remember whether I sent the photo or I told her what the pay slip says, yeah. Kikawaka. Kwa sababu gani? I refused to go with a lawyer. Because why didn't I listen? You know. Mbona sisikizangi vitu naambiwa, kila saa naambiwa vitu na sisikii. I just want to do my own things, unaona. So first of all nikaambiwa hiyo pesa yake nifanye nini? Nimrudishie. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't remember whether I gave it back ama nilikuwa nishakula. Hapo sikumbukagi, yeah. But alikuwa amesema arudishiwe hiyo pesa. And now I'm wondering, what did I need it for? If I took it, what was it going to be for? You know, I needed to eat. So ukiniambia nikurudishie hiyo dhawa yako, unatry kusema, unaona. And that was it, akaacha tu kuniongelesha. So I had to figure life out on my own. Babako ana pesa, anakuongelesha but hana pesa. Mama yako akuongeleshi, sijui kama hana pesa anakunyima ama hana pesa hataki kutafuta ama yeye hana. Ona. So yeah, nikabaki sasa hapo mimi Juja na njaa. Hiyo msemo ya Juja na njaa, hapo ndo nilianza kujua sasa vizuri. Remember my roommate, at some point she took me to her school. There was a cultural festival or some festival, yeah, so she took me to her school and I got to meet her classmates, and one of them was looking not so, you know, so hey you. Yeah, so we exchanged numbers, yeah.
Generation, yeah.
Do you see my daughter?
I know.
Exactly. Anyway, so
the look was looking.
It was looking. No, nikeusi. The baby daddy momsi. Lakini akona macho rembo. His eyes, yo.
Beautiful.
And the beautiful hair, you see.
Yes.
Anyway, so tuka exchange numbers, yeah. So from there we started dating. And you see, as time goes by, maisha inakuwa ngumu, the more I need to go visit him so that I can do what? Eat. Because sasa, when else are you supposed to eat? So I used to, because he's in school also, you see he's a student as well, yeah? So I used to mostly visit him over the weekend. So nitatoka Juja Friday, nitarudi Juja Monday. At that point, I'm not even attending classes as I should, because what am I going to do? You can't go to school hungry, unaona? Like, umetoka kwa nyumba hujakula, lunchtime inafika uko shule. What are you supposed to eat? Unaona? So I used to go to my boyfriend's place sasa. Sasa me, I'm the wife and I'm a good girl and I get fed, yeah. I don't know. Now I usually look back at the kind of relationship we had, and I recently realized that I had no idea what whoa. Hey, Kagresi ni yako. Kagresi is my therapist. She was recently explaining to me something about sexual relationships, yeah. Back then I had no idea. I was just doing it because
Your boyfriend,
I have a
and
boyfriend
girlfriend.
and that's what you do with your boyfriend, yeah. And I don't know, I'm not saying, of course I did it willingly because I was also in love, you know. It was fun. It was fun, you know. So yeah, I stay at his place. I stay at his place for a while. Monday comes and you see he's also a student, so siwezi overstay kwake, unaona, juu hata yeye anategemea pesa ya mzazi. So there's no way he's going to leave me at home and still have to worry about what I'm going to eat. Yeah. So hata mimi nafika point najiambia, oh yeah, I need to go back to Juja. Unaona? So that was the life until December. Now remember, I only paid rent in October because I moved into that house in October. Nikalipa rent na deposit. So November tukakalia deposit, me na my roommate. Now unfortunately, she was also broke, should I call it broke? So hata yeye hakuwa na afford kulipa school fees. Kulipa the rent. Luckily, and this is a very lucky situation for me, somehow things just happen in my life. JKUAT waka strike. Si JKUAT hata peke yake. Universities across the countries waka strike. Yeah. So when you wali strike, that means I shouldn't be in school or I can't be in school. Now I had an excuse to go to my boyfriend's place. Sasa juu hata yeye aziniambia nirudi Juja. Juu hata yeye anajua siko shule, unaona. So I went and stayed there, and you see by then the whole time I'm not paying rent. So hata mimi sisikii vizuri kuenda kwa nyumba yenye silipi. My landlady was very nice, very understanding. But hata mimi yenyewe, I can't really be in her face all the time to remind her I haven't paid. Unaona, I had to nijitoe tu kidogo. Unaona. Yeah, so sasa tunasongea April, tuko hapo May. Yeah. So in May, during one of the, usual escapades. I conceived now. Yeah, baby. Guy. Come back in. Where? Hiya. Yeah, so I had no idea. But I don't know. When I tell the story of how it happened, hata mi wasielewi really, because I knew I wasn't safe. Unaona? He also knew I wasn't safe. So akisema alipi, you knew what you were doing, sir. Anyway, usiseme ati mtoto alikuja by accident. Oops. Yes, we were not really prepared, but we both knew it was risky.
Yeah.
Unaona? But after that, nobody even think to get the prostrostro. What is it called?
P2.
Nobody even thought about it. Si tukaendelea tu na maisha, yeah. So a while later, I also bumped into another friend of mine. Tulikuwa tunasoma naye the same primary school. Uko tu Juja. I told her, wewe ukajua venye kinaumana. Nikapata job sasa hivi nafanya juu hata siko shule, unaona. Yeah. So akaniambia, you're looking for a job, nikamwambia. Akasema, this guy I'm working for has a shop in town and he's hiring, unaona. So he had wanted her to move from Uchumi to there, but yeye akaona commuting itakuwa ngumu, yeah. So akaambiwa kama anaweza tafuta mtu mwingine. Na mtu mwingine ni nani?
It's you.
Wewe niambie kama si miracles.
It is a miracle.
Haya, so I went to town. I met up the guy, we discussed. So he was asking me, first of all, he obviously asked me my age, yeah. At that time I was 18. Yeah, I was 18. So akaniuliza, what's your situation? Why are you not in school? So I told him everything. School fees is a problem. I never, rarely, ever, never, except for now, tell the whole story as to why my parents are not paying me. Wanga nawaambia tu, my parents cannot afford, no. So he felt bad for me and everything. Akasema, I'm going to hire you. He was going to pay me 12,000 per month, which is very good money, yeah? But akasema, I'll only be giving you a portion of it because I want some of it iende kwa school fees, unaona. So he said, tutapangana masaa, because at that time he had another employee there. So I can't remember what the arrangement was really, but it was going to be such that, like while we were talking, I'd given him my school timetable. So he was scheduling me, ananiambia on Wednesdays unaweza ingia 2 PM, unaona. Hivyo ukimaliza class, hivyo tulikuwa tumepangana, unaona. And I started working. So when I started, he gave me 1,500 because I obviously told him sina pesa at all. So I need the fare to commute, yeah, for at least kidogo until I get paid. So akanipea 1,500, yeah. So when I started working is when I realized that morning sickness is a thing. But back then I had no idea that I was pregnant, yeah. So Lynn, tell me why I wake up in the morning akisisiki kwenda mahali. Arguably sikuwa nafika on time most days, yeah, because nilikuwa yani mwili tu inakataa, unaona jivuruta, I don't feel good, yeah. So he noticed that I was supposed to report at 8. That guy used to make sure amefika hapo 7 so you can see what time you're getting there, yeah. So at first, during the first 2 days nilikuwa nafika on time. But nikaanza kufika 8:05, 8:03, 8:10, yeah. Ananiambia tu wewe, I'm like akipole, akipole. Mimi naambia tu jam,
Hata hapa tunakuanga na mtu wa akipole. Akipole tunaishingi, akipole,
unaona. Naambia jam kidogo.
Akipole.
So he used to understand, yeah. Tell me why. Was it, I think 2 weeks in or 3 weeks in, like haikuwa imefika a full month of me working there. There was a graduation in KU. Na me I had no idea, Unajua nilifika town saa 3. Mbona unafika town saa 3 na kazi unafaa report saa 2. He just looked at me akaniambia, you just go back where you came from. Now that was my second time hearing that line, go back where you came from. We cannot continue working together anymore. I don't know. At that point I was like, it's okay. But I remember on my way back, nilipanda Kenya Mpya, I cried the whole time. Like nilikuwa tu kwa dirisha hivi nalia. Sijui kama mwenye alikuwa amekaa hapo kando yangu alikuwa tu anasikia nikisnort and everything. I just cried. I went back home and continued crying. Na maisha ikasonga, yeah. So from there ndio ikanihit what was going on in my body, and that now my period is late and it's time to panic. So I take a pregnancy test and
You're positive.
I'm pregnant. Wow. I don't know how to explain it, but one thing I remember is that before I took the test, I was just done. I was done. Mimi nilikuwa nasema tu nimechoka, unaona? Because like, what are you doing?
What are you living for?
Unaishi ukidu, unaona? Why am I even here? Remember the whole time my mother is not talking to me. And I don't know, there's something I haven't mentioned, but she came to Nairobi in December. So yeah, we met, like we had met since nitoke home, tulipatana sasa December, and from there, see, she wasn't talking to me anymore.
Yeah.
So even when I got pregnant, like realized I was pregnant, why would I even tell her, unaona? So me, I just went on with my life. So at that point, ndo nikikwambia, I was just done. I was just done. I didn't have a plan for how done I was going to be done, but I just knew I'm tired, yeah? So I remember when I took that test and I found out I was pregnant, I cried. But mostly I was just telling that baby. I remember saying, I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight because of you. Nilikuwa naongelesha tu hiyo tumbo saa hiyo. You see, I was 1 month pregnant. So I was just telling her or him, I'm going to fight because of you. No, I remember saying, no, I can't do anything to myself, you know. I can't do anything bad to myself because now you're here and I can't do it to you too, you know. So I said I was going to stay alive because of the baby. And that's when I decided to keep it. People say it's deciding to keep it, but for me it was not a decision, you know. It was just something that was a must for me. Haikuwa ati kulikuwa na should I not, unaona? Because one thing I know is she saved my life. Because me aki kama siyo mtoto asingekuwa hapa. I'd already given up. The news have hit me that I am with child. Now it's time to tell the owner of the child. So I just told him, oh yeah, I mean, kona ball, you know. And he was like, first of all, he was shocked. You know, they're always so shocked. I'm like, why are you shocked? You know, it's not like we're trying to stop it so hard, you know. Anyway, he was shocked. And then he said, I should think about what I want to do and tell him. I was like, what do you mean? Think about what I want to do? What do you mean? You know, but it obviously hit me what he was trying to say, yeah? So me nikamwambia, if that's what you're thinking I'm going to do, wewe uko zako, me there's nothing, siwezi fanya kitu kai, unaona. So I remember at that point, like tuliagiwagi hapa kule, because now he was telling me about how he's still a student and I'm also still a student, you know. Can we really be parents right now? You know, the whole thing, you know. And I was like, yeah, I know, but like, too bad. There's nothing I can do about it, unaona. So, yeah, mi nikamnyamazia, na yeye pia akaninyamazia. Unaona yeye pia ako na mapresha zake also, yeah. So, I remember that time, around the time, his sister was coming to visit him at his place, yeah. And by then, I'd already been introduced. Mi ni bibi ya mtu ni msicheze. I'd already been introduced to the mother and to the sister that were in a relationship, yeah. So, yeah, his mother basically told him that you cannot run away from this responsibility, unaona. And, yeah, he accepted. I don't know, why do people say accept pregnancy as if, you know. But, yeah, akasema tu ni sawa, we'll figure it out, yeah. So, at that time, I had been fired, remember? And he knew that I had been fired, yeah? So he used to send me money here and there, especially after knowing that I'm pregnant. But anatumia tu ka 50 bob, you know. So
What?
I'm pregnant and I'm eating 1 meal a day, yeah? Because remember that time mi pia sikuwa nataka kwenda kwake because he was telling me to go to his house na mi sijisikii, yeah? I feel like during hiyo first trimester of my pregnancy, I really hated him so much, yeah? So I didn't want to see him at all. So he used to send me 50 bob, 70 bob, you know? And ntashinda tu ntalala, niamke around saa 9, nijivurute. By the time I'm going to look for food, it's 5. So when I eat and it's time to sleep. Mpaka kesho saa 9, unaona. When I was, I think, 4 months pregnant, my landlady noticed that I'm not going to work. Because when I got the job, I told her that, good news, and now I have a job. So I'll figure it out and I'll start paying rent, yeah. So she was happy for me and everything. Akaniambia, ni sawa, you just go work. So after a while, she noticed that I'm not going to work. So she came to my house and ananiuliza, Kweni, what happened with the job? So I told her, bana, kiliumana, yeah. So at that time, I remember she was pregnant, very heavily pregnant. So she was asking me, why can't you go home? So I pointed to her stomach, namwambia. So niko like, akaniuliza, what? Hata she thought kuna mdudu kwa tumbo yake. So ako like, ni nini? Naambia, afu nikamwambia, tunafanana. Tuko pamoja.
You have some sense of humor.
Bado tunafanana. Akaniuliza, you're pregnant? Nikamwambia ako like, wa? Akaniuliza, is it ni boyfriend yako juu? Alikuwa amemuona around, ya? Nikamwambia Kaniambia, sasa kutaendaje? Mimi nikamwambia ndo maana yake hata I don't know what to do. So I told her the whole story sasa of how my relationship with my mom has always been and my father and the whole thing. And now knowing how my mom is with me not being pregnant, imagine how much worse with me as a pregnant young girl. Because at that time I was 18, yeah. So she told me, I know the whole thing, but inafikanga mahali, you need to lower, first of all, your ego. Because sasa, it's one thing, sasa, even me, I know I have. Because all those moments, nikiambiwa, I need to go to my aunt and I don't want to. You see, that's an ego issue, you know. So she told me, you need to lower your ego and accept that your mother is the only one you have right now. So my mother said, fine, she can come, yeah. But before coming, I do not have money. If I had a what do we say? If I had a something for how many times I've had, I do not have money, I'd be rich, you know. She does not have money at the moment, but I needed to go to my shosho's house and stay there for a week until apate pesa. And she even sent the fare for me to go to shosho. But then again, guy, me I don't want to go to shoshos because remember I'm 4 months pregnant. Nikienda kwa shosho aki atajua tu. Na mi sitaki mtu ajue. Because you see, back then, I don't know, even now, teenage pregnancy is not something fun that you want everybody to know you're pregnant as a teenager, yeah? So I told my boyfriend, looks like we are going home together, my love, you know? Looks like I'm coming home with you, you know? So I went to my boyfriend's place. Now he knew that we're only staying there for a week until my mom sends money, yeah? So when I went to his place, on the first night, second night, I really thought about my life and I thought, you know what? I don't want to go home pregnant. You know, what is that going to look like? I just don't want it. If my mom cannot afford to take care of me peke yangu, how will she take care of me and my child, you know? So, nikasema, as a matter of fact, this man got me pregnant. He needs to pay. Yeah, he needs to take responsibility. So I told my mom, I've decided I'm not coming. I'll look for work or something. I'll figure something out, yeah? I'm at my friend's place. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. So when I was 8.5 months pregnant, like a month or 3 weeks TV to my due date, is when now my baby daddy starts asking me, for me ako ni gani mdem? Because like, you're in my house and you're pregnant and it's our baby and nobody knows. you know, you haven't told anyone from your family, so what are you planning? Nikajua, okay, yeah, it's probably time to tell someone, yeah. So I called my father. And I called him during the day. Nikampasha, nikamwambia. I remember I cried a bit because, you know, I was emotional, telling him that I'm pregnant. Nikamwambia, don't worry, I'm okay. I'm staying with my baby daddy or whatever. And he was okay. He congratulated me, and yeah, he asked me whether I'm okay and everything. I told him I'm fine. Your story kaisha, nikamwambia, I just needed you to know. Akasema ni sawa, he's going to tell Shusho and everybody else that needs to know. At midnight, he called me drunk. Hey, babangu jameni. You know that man has never been sober a day in his life. Monday to Monday, he's always drinking, yeah? So he calls me drunk and he's crying. So I'm like, wait, what's going on? So he's crying, he apologized, he said he's so sorry, he knows he ruined my life, you know. He said he regrets his life choices, he regrets abandoning my brother and I, you know. He said that he doesn't see the need for him to continue living, you know, like he could even go and himself. Nikamwambia, oya mzae, pull up. Unafikiri mtoto nazalia nani? Nikamwambia, once the baby is here, we shall revisit your story, yeah? But for now, you just relax. Chill kwanza, nikishazaa utaona kama unataka mjukuu ama utaki, alafu you can do whatever you want. So a few days later, he told my shosho, I think a few weeks later, I think he was just trying to see ataambia aje watu, yeah, because it's a big deal, you know. My shosho called me and she was happy and everything. She told me it's okay, don't worry, it's going to be fine. And then she told me she's coming to visit me on Valentine's. Yeah. Now my due date was on 17th of February. So I knew that 14th was a good day for her to come visit. And we set a date and she came. I mean, she decided she was going to come, yeah. So on 13th, I remember I woke up very early to Tara clean. Nyanyangu anakuja bana, shosho anakuja. So it's one thing I came to realize later, yo, kwa nguvu inakujanga just before labor, unajua. So I was very energetic. I cleaned the house top to bottom. Mpaka nilikuwa napanguza walls, but huku kwa kona najua shosho ataona hii. Na si poa. So I cleaned up everything. So after sasa tumekula supper, tumerelax, nilikuwa na watch movie usiku. Around saa 8 naanza kusikia, this is weird, what am I feeling? Unajua, I feel like nasikia ku go to the loo, but it's not coming. Nikasema let me sleep, kesho it'll be okay. So in the morning, like usiku yote tu I was just troubled, yeah. In the morning at like 6, I wake him up. Nikamwambia, oya bana, amka mimi naumwa na tumbo. Ako like, naumwa na tumbo nini mbaya? Niko like, I don't know, but I'm not feeling well. There's something wrong, yeah. So we wake up a neighbor of ours, a lady that alikuanga na mtoi pia, so like she knows these things, mambo ya watu wako na mimba, yeah. So akaniuliza, unasikia hivi tumbo hapa hivi? Naambia, alafu ukienda kukojoa haitoki. Naambia, huyo ni mtoto. Niko like, guy, what do you mean huyo ni mtoto? It's not yet time. My due date is 17th, you know. And the whole reason we panicked is because we did not have baby clothes. Hatukuwa tumejipanga na nguo za mtoi, ati mtoi atavaa nini. Si tulikuwa tuko tu. Hatuna do. He's a student, you know. Pesa yenye anatumiwa na babake haitutoshi sisi wenyewe. At some point he used to, kuna beshte yake alikuwa na nduthi, so alikuwa anaomba nduthi aende kupiga maraundi akibebana, you know, apate kapesa ya ugali na KDF. I used to eat KDF a lot, yeah. So I was counting on my shosho coming on 14th, ndio anipe ka something bana, nikimbie soko. Alafu mnaniambia ni mtoto. What do you mean? I'm not ready. But akaniambia hii si mambo ya you're ready or you're not. It's time to go to the hospital. So she went to her house and brought me clothes. The only thing we had were vests and socks. That's what I'd bought. To 50 bob, 30 bob. So she gave us clothes because her baby was 5 months old by then. So alikuwa already na her baby clothes. So akatupatia, was it like 3 sets of clothes? Unaona hizo nguo za newborns ukuja a set of a sweater, a top, a trouser, hivyo. So she gave us 3 sets and a few blankets za kufunika. My baby was born on Valentine's of 2018.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
She's a Valentine's baby.
Yeah, I know. And the whole thing was chaotic. I had no idea what I was doing, but I figured it out. Yeah.
And school?
School what? Where?
What happened?
Tuliacha
lini shule?
Shule? We are still talking about school.
Oy, kaput.
So when Arya was 1 month old, okay, now I've mentioned it in my TikToks that my father's side of the family were extremely supportive. Yeah, they visited me. Walikuja wakaniletea magunia 2 za manguo akimtuma. Kai. Na manapi na mablanketi na masweta. Kwanza masweta, woi. Magunia mimi sikuwa naamini. Alafu shushu alikuwa amepika hii uji ya ukiai, alikuwa ameleta mtungi 2, mando, mama shopping, mchele, masukari. Yeah, so they came through for me kabisa. Yeah. Shule tuliacha 1.2 na 1.2 yenyewe sikuwa naenda. So yeah,
kaput.
Basically.
Never to go back.
No, in my mind, I knew I was going to go back someday. I didn't know when, but nilijua hiyo gown lazima tu nivae, unaona.
Yeah. Umeshavaa?
Bado.
Oh, you will get there. Yeah, I just needed clarification on that. So nguo zimekam.
Tushazaa. Tuko tu sawa. Mtoto amekuja ameonwa na shosho. My father came, akashika mjukuu. It was fun. They brought us everything. And then they left, obviously. That was when Arya was 2 weeks old, yeah? So, when Arya turned 1 month old, my baby daddy started saying, we, maisha kidogo ngumu. And it makes sense, because you see, he's a student. Usiku anashinda ngenge, you know. In the morning, he has to focus in school, and it wasn't easy for him, and I understood that, unajua. So, I decided it's time for me to go. Just figure out where I'm going to go, you know. At this point, nimezoea kuenda. So I called my father. Nikamwambia kunaenda hivi na hivi. It's like I need to leave because I need to give him the space to do whatever his school and stuff. Yeah. Plus, if he can't afford to take care of us, there's no point kumpatia hizo mamzigo na mapressure, unaona. So my father said, when do you want me to come and get you? You know. So nikamwambia we set a date, akasema anakuja. But first akaniuliza, have you told your mom's side of the family that you had a baby? And I was like, oh, okay. I no. You know, it just never crossed my mind that
it was
important for them to know, you know. So I said, fine. So I called my grandfather, i.e. my mom's father, okay? And I cried. I'm emotional, yeah? So while explaining, I cried a bit and he was flabbergasted because, you see now, he had no idea what has been going on in my life. Yeah, he knows I came to JKUAT to university. Other than that, he has no idea what has been going on. Alafu the next thing he hears is I have a 1 month old baby, you know. So he was shocked. He asked me whether I've told my mom. I told him, no, bado sijamwambia. So he said he's going to tell everybody sasa. Her and the siblings, my aunts and uncles and everything.
Sister Guka, who was happy you got a big
Yeah,
class.
that's him, yeah. So, he also told me that nisijali kuteleza si kuanguka, and I'm like, babu ukajua mimi hata siwezi jipata hapa tena. But ni sawa tu, you know. Yeah, so he told them. And how I knew he told them is because each and every one of my mom's siblings called me. I have an uncle in Tanzania. He texted me on Facebook to ask about, I've heard you have a baby, how are you doing? My mother never called me. She never called. I don't want to cry about it. Mainly about that issue, nimechoka. Yeah, so my father came and I went to my shosho's house and we moved on with life, yeah.
Is that what you crave though? The care? Just for her to...
I don't know what I cause. You know, you cannot know, you cannot miss something you never had. Is that a thing?
Experienced.
Yeah, but it just makes sense that your mother should call, because angepiga tu ataka ni kunikelelesha, unaona? Angepiga tu aniteteshe, hiyo story ishe. Ama whatever it is, but you see, I expected she was going to, because she had known, but she didn't. And I was like, I mean, should probably be grateful that nimehepa hiyo kukeleleshwa, so let me just move on with my life, yeah. So yeah, we went to Shosho's house and tukaishi jameni. Niko kwa Shosho ni Murang'a. Murang'a is very, very cold, yeah. When Aria was 3 months old, it started getting colder because you see I had a baby in February, so it's March, April, May, April, June kanaanza kuingia. Yeah. So I needed clothes. See, I can't ask my father for money for anything because the whole time I was staying there, he was always drunk, kama kawaida, makelele and everything, yeah. So he's not a very reliable person, and it's something I've come to accept. Unaona? And I don't know, maybe people might think I'm excusing him, and that's even why my mom thinks I'm on his side, and she's wondering why would I be on his side na sasa ni deadbeat tu kabisa. But sasa yeye, sasa hakuna kitu anaweza fanya, unaona? We at least we kuna kitu unaweza fanya, but maybe utaki, unaona? So my dad used to send me 20 bob every day ya diaper ngapi? Moja ya kumfunga usiku. Juu sasa I told him siwezi funga mtoto napi usiku. Juu first of all nikimwamsha kumchange akisusu atapigwa na baridi. So diaper. So 20 bob every day, and maybe akituma 50 bob ama 60 na bai 3 nakaa nazo, unaona? And that was the life. Nafua napi. I remember at some point I got sick and my shosho ndio walikuwa wananifulia hizo napi, and it was just a horrible sight to see. Shosho wangu ndo anafulia mtoto wangu napi. I just hated being in that, or rather putting her in that position, you know. But yeah. So I can't also tell my shosho that, like, staki kumpea mzigo nianze kumwambia anga I need clothes. You know, she's already doing more than enough for us, yeah. So I called my aunt uwa Nairobi. Nikamwambia, we auntie, she knew that niko kwa shosho. Nikamwambia, huku kumeanza kuwa na baridi, I need clothes, yeah. And something also that I needed was bras. So my aunt sent me 2K. I was going to go to Gikomba. To go and buy bras, but she told me, before you buy anything, wait, because I told you, mom. Yeah, and I was like, wait, what? Why would you tell her? But anyway, hey, what did she say? She said she's going to send you clothes from home. I was like, wow, my mama still cares about me. She hasn't called me yet, but this is a good start, you know. We'll get there. Wacha tu anitumie hizo nguo kwa si aliambiwa I need clothes, yeah. So my aunt told me, your mommy is sending clothes, so first of all don't buy. Nikamwambia don't worry, acha atume and then I'll come nikuja nikizichukua nikiendeanga Gikomba. So who did I call to accompany me to Gikomba?
Grace.
Right
now we need an entire series of Grace.
I didn't even mention, kuna parata nimeruka, very, very important, Lynn, and I don't even know why niliruka, I didn't explain my whole labor experience. Yeah. But Grace was there, rubbing my back when I went into labor. She's always been there. She was always there, you know. Ndo aliniletea uji. Ile uji unafaa ukunywe ukishamaliza kuzaa, ndo aliniletea. She's still here. Yeah, so I called Kagrace anipeleke Ikomba tukabuy nguo. So we went, we bought the bras and the tights because I also needed like trouser things, yeah, tights, some tops. Months later, when I visited my aunt, I think at that time Arya was, I don't know, 8-ish months old. When I went to my aunt, now the package was still there waiting for me, but she had thrown some of the things away. Yeah? Lynn, it was everything I left at home. Everything. There's a mdoli I named Sandra, mdoli tu hivi, midoli kona nywele kizungu kwa namuita Sandra. She bought it for me when I was in class 7 so that I can practice braiding hair. And yeah, I practiced, so now I can like braid hair, yeah. That mdoli was also included there. And like, why? You know. Yeah, she packed up all my and put it on a bus, so. And still won't call to ask how the baby is, by the way, or to even ask how the daughter is, you know. And yeah, you just take your L's, count your losses, and move on with life. What are you supposed to do? But I decided, I'm going to Juja, whether or not, you know. So that's other instances, these are no instances, zenye, unaweza sema, I'm doing things without thinking, you know, because like, where was I going, you know? Because see, I could have continued staying at my shosho's house, but I just wanted to go and figure something out, see whether I can do something about my life, you know. So I get to Juja, and in 2019, January, kikaniramba, because you see, nilitoka kwa shosho September of 2018, tukaishi tu vizuri na roommates hadi December. So in January, one of them said anataka kuhama because alikuwa amemaliza shule, so akasema they want to move out, yeah. And you see, the rest of us can't continue living there. So I needed to figure out where I'm going to go. So yeah, once again, the only person I can really go to saizi is my mother, yeah. So remember the whole time, nilizaa mtoto February of 2018 na tuko January of 2019 and we've never talked, yeah. So I called her. I told her, hi, first of all, you know. So she asked me how I'm doing. I told her. She asked me my baby's name. Sijui ama hakuwa ameuliza mtu jina ya mtoto, because I told my aunt. Mama maybe alisahau kuuliza, but she asked me what my baby is called. Yeah, so after we talked, I told her, now the main reason for me calling is your kimeniramba. So I told her, I explained to her that when I moved from Shosho's, I had roommates and now we have to disperse and I need some money to rent a house because I wasn't prepared, you know. So at least ya kuanza, alafu mbeleni I'll figure it out, yeah. And yeah, you know the drill. I don't even have to say it anymore because she does not have money, you know. But ataona kwenye atakopa, yeah. So she said she'll find somewhere akope, alafu atatuma. She sent it, yeah. It was 7,000. Mimi nikaenda kurent nyumba ya 6,000.
Abi. Abi.
Please.
Inayo kuwa na plan.
Please, I had a plan.
Una plan.
Bear with me. Yo, bana. Miyaki, nataka mtoto wangu aishi maisha mzuri, you know. I want me to be comfortable and her to be comfortable. So, I'll do whatever it takes to create a good life for us, you know. So yeah, call it crazy or call it optimism, but mi nilijua tu nita afford. Wewe lipa tu ya kwanza, hizo zingine
tukisonganga.
Sintalipa. Sintalipa. So yeah, she paid, nikaingia. Luckily uko sikuitishwa deposit. Me I told them, but ni kubaya. Sometimes you have to tell people what you're going through. Ndio mwenye ataona akusaidia unaona. Si nikaingia. And again I'm thinking that I'll just afford. And once again I was wrong because it rambled me. Again.
Hii hapa ndio tu nimekubali.
But the thing is, what makes me think ningeenda kwa nyumba ya 2K ninge afford bado, you know. So in December 2019, kiliniramba too proper, I had to go home. And now that was the first time my mom saw Arya and she was happy and everything. But so we stayed there in December, January. In February, she started asking me when I'm going back to Juja, and now it hit me, oh yeah, you need to get up and go, you know. Like I said, nimezoea tu kuenda. So I just knew I need to go somewhere, yeah. So I came back to Nairobi and found out that my father had retired and had run into some money. Retirement money. Mimi huyo mbio kwa mzae. So I found that yes, it's true, he had a lot of money. So he gave me some of it and I was able to start life afresh, yeah. Now that was 2020. So he rented me a house. I even paid rent, I think 3 months. Bought me a bed. Because by the time I was going home, I had nothing except my clothes and my baby's clothes, yeah. Bought me a bed, a mattress, everything too, ya kuanza maisha, yeah. And a laptop and a phone, mind you, yeah. So I knew I was very well equipped. This time round, Lynn.
You had a plan.
I had a plan.
Yes.
And it'a work.
Yeah.
This time itafanya nini?
It'a work.
So I came to Juja, rented a house and decided sasa I can go back to school. Because unaona, at that time Arya was 2 years old. And I went back to school and I attended classes for a whole month and it was going great. I was balancing everything.
Yes.
And then March came. And then coronavirus came. And I'm like, guy, at this point, mi ndaimaliza shule, you know. So after that, ndo nikaona, it's like this degree does not want me. Wacha tu ikae. And that was it.
For real?
Yeah.
What have you been up to?
Now, I continued with the academic writing thing. I ran into some huge other opportunity I could afford. I got my own account and you see, having an account is a lot better.
Yeah.
Nikaomoka too proper. Nilikuwa naambia ka Grace juzi. I can't believe the things I was buying. There's this mosquito thing. I don't know whether you know it. Hii kitu ya kuplug in.
Ya kunini.
I bought 2 of them. And I'm like, one for the sitting room and one for the bedroom.
We have a sitting room now! And a bedroom!
Msicheze, you know. So, life was good. And like I said, when life is good, what happens to my mother's and mine's relationship?
It becomes good.
Yeah, and we became friends again and I sent money home as much as possible. Until it was time for my brother to go to college. And she started insinuating that should be my responsibility. Hapo saa ndio ikanihit, hii game hatutacheza. Cause mi huku nisomesha. So why do you expect me, after struggling, yote nime-struggle Juja, trying to make a life for myself and my daughter, why do you now expect that I should take care of you as, you know? Okay, in this point I'm calling him yours because ni mtoto wake, unaona. So why is it again my responsibility? And again pia brothangu pia aliambiwa to the same line, mtu akasomeshwe na nani? Na babake. Sasa since baba hizi somesha mtu, sasa option ni nani?
It's you.
At that point nikaona hii haikuji vizuri. And then in January of 2023 last year, my shosho died.
Oh.
I know. So now when my shosho died is when you see, we had been friends ever since 2020 tuseme, because even when my father ran into hiyo pesa we became close. Sasa juu hiyo pesa ya mzae, unaona, so tulikuanga tu mabeshte ever since, yeah. So when my shosho died is when it hit me. I have not healed from anything really. Like, we are friends, but I still hold some sort of resentment towards you, like deep down. Because when my shosho died, I felt like I lost a mother. Because you see, she's the one who took really good care of me and Arya. I don't know whether people know, but if you've had kids, you know how special it is between you and the person that takes care of you. Ukiwa moshere, inaitwa moshere.
Yeah, moshere.
It's extremely, because your time you're vulnerable, your kid is also very vulnerable as well, and having someone there to take care of you is a very
everything.
It means everything. And then she died.
Sorry about Shosh.
I know, thank you. And then I just, sasa hizo mauchungu zote zenye nimeishi nazo towards my mother, they came. And I don't remember now I'm a mom myself. And I don't know whether you've noticed, I'm not mentioning my baby daddy this whole time. And it's because if he cannot take care of his child, I'm not going to force him to do it. Me, I'll figure it out, you know. So I've never been one to put your pressure. So whenever I asked him for money ni ile time sina kabisa. Na hata hiyo time atanitumia 200. But I'm grateful because itatufikisha mpaka kesho. Kesho ikifika, I'll figure it out, you know. So I just knew, mi bora niko tu mimi and my daughter, we are going to figure it out, you know. And we did, you know, for the most part, yeah. So my shosho died and I decided I need to tell my mother what I'm feeling, because I was very heartbroken and very bitter about everything, you know. So I told her, I sent her voice notes, several, as usually potea na WhatsApp GB, you know. Yeah, so I sent her voice notes and then I went to sleep. Like, after I talked to her about it, I felt like roho yangu imetulia, you know. So in the morning I woke up and there's voice notes from her. So I pressed play thinking it was going to be, you know, affirming my feelings and telling me, I know this is how you feel, let's talk. And where yeah, so she said she sent me to Juja to come and study, not to get impregnated. And none of what has happened in my life is her fault, because she did her part. She played her part. She fed us, my brother and I. She made sure we ate. We went to school and we had a roof over our heads. So the rest of it is really none of her business, you know. So why am I not grateful for the fact that I'm alive because of her, you know? That she regrets she regrets wasting her youth. That's well, it's even funny. Yara si kitu ya kulia because it's just hilarious. She regrets wasting her youth on us, because if she had known the kind of mess would have become, she would have remarried and got other kids, you know. And I was like, okay. At some point, okay, at same point, yeah, she said, now talking about how I should not blame her for me getting pregnant in campus. I'm not really blaming. I'm not blaming you. I'm just telling you that this is how I feel, and I feel you had a hand in my turning out this way, you know. And it's not like I regret my life, you know. I just needed her to know what I'm feeling. You know?
Just needed to let it out.
Exactly. So she told me that I came to Nairobi kupiga umalaya, and that I probably don't even know who my baby daddy is. Yeah, that right there, you iligonga mahali, because like, what do you mean? You know, what would you think kitu kaa hiyo about your child, you know? Yeah, so at that point is when I decided, let's just
call it.
Yeah, wacha tu kila mtu ajikalishe, no more relationship, no more anything, let's just. Hapo saa nilimwambia acha kila mtu ajilelee mtoto wake mwenyewe, because remember alikuwa anatry kusema venye I need to pay school fees for my brother, yeah, because your time, okay, I homeschool Arya, yeah. So she was saying the way I'm wasting so much money homeschooling Arya, and yet my brother needs to go to school as well, you know. And I was like, what do you mean? Why shouldn't I have the chance to fulfill the dreams I have for my daughter? Now I came to find out that she took a loan for my brother to go to college.
How is bro?
Bro, now my brother got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 2022. And it's been a journey of him trying to adjust to the new life, you know, because now he's on insulin. So every time anakula, he needs to take insulin shots, so at least thrice a day after every meal, yeah. And that's basically his life now, yeah. And now my brother finished school. And when he did, he went to Mombasa to a cousin of mine. Now, again, the theme here is that the kids just want to run away from home, you know. Because like my brother had the option of staying with my mom in Meru, but he just didn't want to, you know. So he said that mama is asking whether he can come live with us. So I told him, Aki, nikubaya. And considering him with his condition, he needs food.
Yeah.
And the theme here is Juja na njaa, you know. So I don't think I can afford to provide like 3 proper meals a day for you, you know. Because mimi nikiwa na Arya, sometimes Arya will go eat at my neighbor's house, mimi ni iname, you know. And that's just how life is, you know. Until pesa ipatikane. Na inapatikananga, you know, it doesn't go on for a long time, you know. So mimi nikamwambia, I don't think naweza kumanage. So he said that mother has said not to worry, atatuma nini pesa ya food. I was like, ala. First of all, nikashindwa kwani amechange, you know, because all through me knowing her, hakuwa anatumia mtu pesa ya food, unaona, but now she's in a good job. So nikajiambia maybe things are different now, yeah. So my brother came in March, recently, juzi too much, very early March, I think 4th or 3rd, yeah. So when he gets here, 2 days later, pesa yangu ikaanza kukaa venye inataka. So nikamuuliza, oya, did your mom send money? So he said, let me ask her.
Your mom?
Your mom. At this point, si ni mamake. Mi kweli nilizaliwa kweli. Mi mnaona kama nilizaliwa. Niliokotwa labda. Anyway, so he told me he's going to ask her. Yeah. My mom sent 4,000 bob and said that we should spend it for 2 months. So that's 2,000 bob a month for my brother to eat. At this point, it's not we, because me and Arya can figure it out. It's just him, you know. But obviously, he can't cook his own meals, so it's something we have to figure out together. 2,000 bob a month for a diabetic child that needs to eat 3 meals a day. Whew!
That's heavy.
Yeah, so at that point I knew that this lady has not changed, might never change, but still nikajiambia maybe things are tough on her end pia, because you see now I'm a parent and I know maisha ni kupanda shuka, unaona, so I wasn't very quick to judge at that time, yeah. So nikajua now I have to figure it out. Now I have 2 kids in my corner and it's fine. I mean, I love my brother and ataenda wapi? You know, I have to figure it out. Now, my brother went to college and did beauty and cosmetics thing, a course yani ya beauty. So he does hair and nails and kunyoa, kinyozi, dreadlocks, hizo vitu zote. That's what amesomea, yeah. Lakini since he finished school recently, he's yet to put it into really good practice. Because when he came to Juja, it's been hard finding a job, ndio. Aingie into the job market, unaona.
He can do nails.
Yeah, he does nails.
Now, I want you to tell him to come and be doing my nails for the show. Then I'll just be doing like this and plug him.
Really?
Yes. And I'll pay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, for real.
He was actually supposed to come today, but akakuwa nervous. I don't know. He thought the cameras were going to be a big deal, yeah. But I'll tell him.
Yeah, I'll even book an appointment. And every time, I don't stay long na nails.
Yeah.
Me and my anxieties, we are always eating nails and whatever. But for Mi na scholar. Dama. Dama na plan. Dama gotta find a plan. Yeah, honestly, just me, scholar, and Dama, we just need our nails done. Just tell us where we need to go.
Sawa.
Yes.
Consider it done.
Yes,
Thank
and
you
I'll
so
put
much.
it here and on Instagram.
Yeah, Aki, thank you so
nails
much.
by what's his name?
Devi.
Nails by Dave.
Yeah, nails
like
by
nails
Dave.
by I practice tu na hizi mbaya. Unajua at least hizi.
Yeah.
Hizi zinaweza practicika like you know.
That's very kind of you. Gosh, Aki, he's going to be so excited.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Nitamwambia alafu tutapanga, yeah. So that's what he did, yeah. Now, something that even pushed me to make the whole series on TikTok is something that happened sasa a few 2 weeks-ish ago, 3 weeks ago, yeah. So, remember, my mom sent your 2,000 bob, yeah? Your 4,000 bob and said near 2 months. So, last week, but one on Tuesday, my brother got sick. Nilikuwa tu kwa nyumba. I was actually editing. I can't remember what part of the series, but I was just busy on the phone, on TikTok, editing and posting, yeah? So, I had no idea that he wasn't feeling well. At that time, he was supposed to wake up and go to work. It was a Tuesday. So, I wake up, I do my own thing. Aria also wakes up, she has her breakfast and goes out to play. See, now kids are on holiday, so she was just going to do her own thing. So, at 2 p.m. is when I realized I haven't seen my brother since morning. Like, you see, I was just busy on my phone and everything. Haikuwa imenihit that, where could he be? Unaona? So I go to the bedroom and he's sleeping. So I wake him up. I'm like, oh yeah, are you not going to work? So he looks at me and it's like he's not there. He was disoriented, like he wasn't talking properly. So namuuliza, are you not going to work? And anamuuliza, what are you talking about, you know? So I was like, what's going on? Nikamuuliza. At that point, I really thought he was pretending, you know, because you see Gen Z, yeye pia ni Gen Z, and you see Gen Z in the workplace, you know. So mimi namuuliza, wewe unafikiri kazi inafanyangwa hivi? You can't just go to work when you feel like, ebu amka uende job. So I started to notice that something is not right. So I asked him, are you okay? And I don't feel so good. And I'm like, what? So I panicked. I went and called my neighbor, anaitwa Rose, up on 3rd floor. So I came and told her, I think something is wrong with my brother. So Rose comes. By the time we get back, alikuwa amecrawl to the door. And like he was hakuwa hapo yani. Alikuwa tu, it's like mtu amelewa, amebleki, ayuko tu yani. He's weak. He can't even talk properly. So luckily Rose knows, because I told Rose that my brother is diabetic. So he knows that she knew what was going on. So I asked my brother, what can I do? What do you need? Should I call mom? Akaniambia, no, don't call her. And then kamuza, what do I do? Akaniambia, I need sugar. I had no idea. I felt so bad, because why didn't I check up on him since morning? No. So he said he needed sugar. I fed him, I spoon-fed him sugar, you know. But he still wasn't. Hakuwa anapona. Because me I thought that ukimpea sukari atakuwa tu sawa. Hakuwa anapona. 5 minutes later, amuuliza, should I call mom? And it's like, don't call her. No. Now looking back, I'm wondering, why wouldn't you want to know you? Why wouldn't you want your mother to know that you're so sick and helpless, you know? Like moms are the ones you're supposed to call kikikuramba, unaona? But alisema mamake asipigiwe, and it really broke my heart, because me Aki, I really hope haitawaifika siku my daughter is stranded out there na hataki kunipigia, you know, because kazi yangu ni gani kama mzazi? Kazi yako ni gani kama mzazi if your kids don't need you, you know? But I had to call her cause I didn't know what to do. So I called my mother, nikamuuliza, Devi akigonjeka, hata sikuwa na time ya salamu. Devi akigonjeka, what am I supposed to do? Akaniambia umempea sukari, nikamwambia kiasi gani, nikamwambia given him like 3, 4, 5 spoonfuls of sugar. So she told me I need to koroga it in a cup, yeah, with water diluted and add more sugar, you know. So I did that. Nikampatia hiyo maji akakunywa, and he was starting to regain consciousness kidogo kidogo. So I sat him on a chair, and so ndo bado anaongea funny, but at least anakuwa aware of his surrounding, you know. So mother said tunafaa tumpime sukari. I don't know, why didn't I care to know how these things are done? I had no idea.
Abby? You know that's not on you, right?
No, I don't know that.
It is not
because
on you.
now he's under my care, and I will never forgive myself if anything ever happened to him, you know. Luckily, Rose, my neighbor Rose, she knew how to use the glucometer. Yeah, so tukampima sukari, and it was at 1.8. The normal blood sugar daktari should be. Gasheri is a doctor.
No,
Kagrace is a nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Dr. Gasheri, inafaa ikuwe?
Inafaa kukua from hapo 5 to 7 hapo.
Wow.
It was at 1.8 after feeding him that much sugar. So I can only imagine what state he was in before, like since morning tangu agonjeke, and I had no idea. But yeah, somehow, in as much as I felt bad about it, I feel like maybe that had to happen for me to know what to do, you know, because saizi, God forbid if it happens again, I know exactly how to take care of him, yeah. And yeah, akakuwa tu sawa. I gave him food. Akakuwa tu sawa. So,
What do you think your mom should have done different?
now, what she should have done different is first of all accept, yeah. You know, divorce is a very huge problem or huge thing that is unfortunate and sad and everything, considering she got married in a wedding, yeah. So I can only imagine the embarrassment she must have felt, like watu wa mtaa watasemaje, your husband left, yeah. And we get that, but I think she should have
It's okay.
I think she should have accepted, you know, that now this is it. I need to figure out a way for me and my kids, you know.
What are you doing differently as a mom for Aria?
What I'm doing differently, and it's something I like to say, I don't put my baby daddy in my calculations anywhere. So whenever I need something, mostly now for Aria, I rarely ever. The only time that happened ilikuwa back then nikiwa Juja nikisota and everything, and I mean, who else am I going to ask, you know? And he used to send me hiyo pesa kidogo yenye anapata, but even then I was grateful for it, yeah. But now the more nakuwa, the more Aria's needs inaenda zikiongezeka, the more I realize that I cannot rely on him, you know. Because see, the more a kid grows, the more school fees ndo hiyo. Mtoto anahitaji nguo, the kid needs chakula, extracurricular activities, you know. The kid needs to have a life, yeah, and you cannot rely on their father to provide it. So I just know I'm on my own, and that it's me and my daughter against the world, and that we're going to figure it out. Yeah.
You know, some people might say you don't understand your mom. Maybe she's dealing with her own things. This is emotional for her. Cut her some slack. She's also a human being. What do you say?
That I'm also a human being, you know, and we all have our problems to deal with. But you see, she's not my aunt or my mom's friend or just a neighbor. She's my mom. So sometimes as a mom, you need to put aside everything and just be there for your kid, you know. Because being a mom or being a parent does not stop at any age. So not people who are like you now, your parents will always be your parents, you know. So yeah, me pia, I'm a human being with my own feelings. So we need to understand each other. And now the thing that now hurts me the most about my mom is even after the series came out, she still doesn't see anything wrong with anything that has happened in the past, you know. Yeah.
School, do you ever miss it? Do you ever miss going back
To school?
and finishing and getting your degree?
Not really anytime soon.
Yeah.
Now, at the back of my mind, I say I'll probably go back to school in my 30s so I can do some fun degree, maybe a psychology degree just for the vibes, you know.
That's nice,
yeah.
though. Yes.
But right now, you see, also the job market in Kenya is not very, you know, so I don't really see the need for me going to school, struggling to get a degree that I won't use, you know, so to speak, yeah. So it's probably best to wait. Alafu tena, you see, I can't really go back to school tena nijiambie now this time I'm going to do it if I'm not financially stable. Kwa sababu mtoi ako hapo, I still need to work, I still need to pay for her school fees, you know. So I need to be in the right mental and financial capacity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every time you are starting your series, and maybe our editor can put something very short, you say, I cannot afford therapy.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
I can't afford therapy, so listen. This is part 59 of Mommy Issues. Now let's talk about the impacts that my life experiences have had on different areas of my life, okay?
Where did that line come from?
Well, first of all, we said that I'm a content creator, yeah? And all through me learning about how content creation works, I knew that I needed a hook, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, so, and it just made sense to use that as a hook because it's true, I cannot afford therapy and I need to talk to someone. And I know if I talk to a therapist, nobody else is going to benefit from that except myself, you know. So I decided, let me just
put it out
there. Someone might learn something, you know. Yeah.
Did you expect so many young people to relate to your experience?
Honestly, no. Actually, kitu I expected, I remember that tukidiscuss na Grace, we really expected a lot of actually na Grace. Kitu I expected was ridicule. Na hii statements, yeah, she's your mom, you need to understand, mzazi ni mzazi. That's honestly what I expected, yeah. And it's so heartbreaking. And I was ready for all of that, you know. It's so heartbreaking that so many people relate. And people have been sharing stories kwa my inbox and hata kwa comment section utaona. And it's like, what? It's like we all have the same parents, you know, and it's so sad because if we are not careful, sasa kama mimi, if I wasn't careful enough to know that this is where I come from and now I have a child and this is what I need to do differently, what's to say my child won't end up exactly like me, you know? Yeah, so it's really heartbreaking.
What do you want to tell parents? What are you hoping parents can be able to pick from this? Now,
the thing I want to tell parents the most is that it doesn't matter how your child came to be. They are your child. It is your responsibility. It really doesn't matter. And hiyo ndo inashangaza, you find people getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids that they cannot take care of. Unaona? And like, why? You know? Because in such instances where the firstborns are the ones expected to take care of the younger siblings, it's not fair. Because this is what happens. We raise a generation of depressed people who just have no one to talk to, kwa sababu as you can see, kila mtu is dealing with their own problems, unaona. Sasa kama Grace, in as much as ananipenda aje, she can only do so much for me. You get, yeah? So
how does it feel seeing they moved on with their careers, they are doctors,
wow,
they are nurses?
that's a very good question. Wow, that's a very good question.
Do you catch a mood?
Now, here's the thing. Once in a while, I usually ask myself, okay, the once in a while always used to happen whenever my mom told me that I dropped out of school. And that's when it used to really like bother me, like what could I have done differently, you know? But then I remind myself that this is my child. Where have I been for the past 6 years? I've been taking care of this beautiful, and that's enough, you know, because at the end of the day, what are we living for? Because this is me, like I said, she's the whole reason I'm living. So, yeah.
She'll obviously watch this later on in life. What would you want her to know about her mom?
That's a sad question. I don't know what to say.
It's okay, you don't have to answer that.
I don't want my baby to think that I put my life on hold for her, you see. Like, I don't want her to feel like
she
I
was
could
a
have,
burden.
yeah, or I could have been so much better or so much further without her. So, what I'm going to do is make sure I give her the best life I possibly can. I raise her well, morals mzuri, asilak kitu to the best of my ability, asome tu vizuri. I empower her such that akikuwa mkubwa she's going to be a healthy, independent adult, unaona? And that's honestly the best thing I can do. Sasa, from hapo, she's free to form her own judgments about me. Yeah.
And of course, no doubt, I know the comment section, we have parents there, we have children, some parents are saying this, some kids are also saying this. But most importantly, I know for sure your mom also will get to watch this. What do you want to tell her?
I don't know. I feel like I've said enough. I don't think there's anything I could say that she does not know already. Yeah. So.
And dad?
My dad. Where? First of all, I think I need to get that man to a rehab. Because my father is one person that is extremely intelligent, first of all. Ni vile tu kapombe ilimuweza. And ni vile tu, you see, it happened akiwa young bado in his late 20s. So, yeah, he probably didn't figure out how to rise again. You see, after losing like his family and everything and feeling incapable of doing anything about it, he just sank deeper. Yeah? And that's one thing I remember in one of the screenshots that my mom sent me. It was her wondering why I would say that I want to take my father to rehab. She screenshotted me saying that, and she said that she's saving it for future reference, you know. And I'm like, you're both my parents, so I don't know what I could possibly do for her, because what could I really do for her, Lynn, honestly, you know? Because at this point, it's not a money issue. I could give her all the money in the world and she'd probably still hate me deep down, you know?
Which parts of your mom do you carry? But what is it she's ever done that really made you happy?
The only thing I can mention are like, kama when she bought me that Sandra Mduli, I was very happy. She bought a tablet. I told you she gave me a tablet when I went to work at the bank. Nilikuwa natesa nayo. And she allowed me to use it, you know.
Dad?
First of all, my parents are both academically enabled. They are both very smart, yeah. So I believe I got my kukua mwerevu ya
mwerevu, si mjanja, mwerevu.
Pia ujanja niko nayo. Yo kukua mwerevu, I got it from both of them, but sana my father. My father is extremely intelligent.
All right. You're very smart. No, honestly, you are very smart. So, a few things here. I asked about therapy for a reason. Is that something you would want to?
Yeah,
All right.
definitely is. Because I feel there are things I still struggle with, especially while being a mom to Arya. And sometimes I catch myself doing some things na najiambia I shouldn't be doing this, unaona? And I want to know what I can do to improve such that my life and my daughters and my brothers ikue iende sambamba now from here onwards. Like mambo ya kusema ati kimeniramba bana, nimechoka kurambwa kila saa, ona. So I
That's
need
something.
to try my best sasa to deal with my own problems.
I know, Teresa, we have an amazing therapist at All Smiles, not Scholar.
Rada. Ningemuita hapa kando tu sahi tuanze. Kwani ni kesho?
I know our good friend Teresa from All Smiles Therapist will take good care of you. I would extend the same to your mom if she's willing, because I feel like there's a lot of unprocessed things that maybe she would love to deal with, but that's for her to try and see if that's a possibility. Would really extend the same to her, very pro bono. And I know you're such an amazing, you are a smart girl, you know, and sometimes we forget how young you guys are. You know, I know people like to call you softies, or we've dealt with all this. Kwani mnadhani, you know, I know definitely someone was watching na anasema hiyo tu, yeah, najua mimi nilipitia nini. But people miss the whole point. We do not have to go through that.
Thing,
You get what I'm saying? You know, someone is watching, huyu akajua mama yetu venye alikuwa mzazi ni mzazi. I know we've normalized that thing of mzazi ni mzazi. But people are carrying a lot of emotional baggages. And I don't know how we can handle this as a society. We need to start talking. We need to start telling parents, si favor kunilea. Does it make sense?
Oh my God.
Kulea Arya is not a favor.
Exactly.
You are getting her clothes and getting her school. It's not a favor. Haumsaidii. It's a choice. And choices
I have to do, you know.
And choices have what? Consequences. You know, we have to stop as a society saying mzazi ni mzazi. It's killing a lot of young people. And that's why sometimes I see young people on TikTok. They are doing things and we are here on the judging lens. Our watoto wa siku hizi. But then I can't imagine the kind of emotional baggages everyone is walking around with, you know.
That's
you know?
true.
Yeah, and I hope like the best comes out even of having this conversation.
I hope so too.
You are obviously destined for greatness. My beautiful moment to see you and your mom have a conversation. Obviously, I know there is a wall right now. I don't want Nini, but you know, you can only have a healthy conversation with someone if you're willing to admit your role in this, and I am willing to admit my role in this. And I feel like parents need to normalize apologizing to their kids. Does it make sense?
Jameni.
Hey. No. And I feel like all you guys want to hear is I'm sorry. I know better now and I will do better.
That's one thing I remember having the conversation about with her. Nikimwambia, that's one word I say at least I don't know how many times a week to Arya, you know. Because she needs to know that I'm not invincible, that I also make mistakes. And when I hurt her, I need to admit it and say I'm sorry.
You get it? I feel like apologizing. Sijui African parents ni nini tunashikilia hard sana. But there's nothing as beautiful as hearing the words I'm sorry from a parent.
That's true.
You know? But I know people have really watched this. There's a reason I did not want to cut it or make it shorter. I know, yes, we've left a couple of other things. But before the parting shot, did Kagrace want to say hi? She should.
Yes.
Kuja haraka usalimie
Arya
watu wangu
pia.
kabla nifunge.
Hebu kuja.
We gotta see this Kagrace.
We have to.
Yes, Kagrace,
Yes.
how are you?
am
Nimeambiwa hata
fine,
nisiseme kitu before you wear your signature.
Hiyo sasa.
Thank you.
Grace. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. Sasa tunafanana.
This is the signature.
Ndio
Oh,
hiyo
what is
sasa.
this? What does it mean?
Si.
It's
Ndio
swag.
rasta.
Karibu sana. I know we've had Kagres, but maybe wewe mwenyewe jiintroduce kwa watu waambie unafanya nini.
My name is Grace Wairimu Njoroge, aka Kagres. I was given that name when I was in primary school. I was so tiny.
Yeah.
So she stuck by it. Yeah, and I am a nurse recently from school.
Good.
Yes,
Good job.
that is where I am at. Thank you so much.
What I've noticed is the support system she has. You guys have been here with her. You've been taking care of her even in between shooting. She's mentioned you. It's like she entered this story with you in mind. You know, sitting there and hear her talk about her story. What did that make you feel?
First of all, it was getting emotional, and it is not because I do not know what she has been through, but putting myself in a shoe makes me feel the intensity of that part of life, especially because I've experienced it firsthand with her.
Yeah.
Not really firsthand, but you know,
You've been
side
there.
by side, yes. And it makes me, one, be grateful for where I come from. I didn't say I'm a sibling to four,
Wow.
3 brothers and 1 sister.
Yeah.
And I'm a daughter to my mom and my dad. So, yeah, it makes me feel grateful for what I have at home and for the opportunities I've had in life, including going back to school. I had you ask how she feels that we managed to, go
Finish.
ahead. Yeah, and it took me back to, it's been a troll of things because at Mimi, being my age right now and I'm just from school, it means I've been through something.
Yes.
So one, it's giving me it's giving gratitude vibes here. And also
giving-
lessons
Yes.
that I tell her a lot of time, Aria gives me baby fevers.
Namwambia angoje. Huyu kwanza namwambia angoje kwanza. Tutafute pesa.
Yes.
Diapers.
Yeah. So looking at it, it makes me learn what being a mom is,
Yes.
what being a parent is, and what being a friend is.
Yeah. Why do you think a lot of people have a hard time understanding your generation?
Because one, a lot is happening. We are evolving, and they need to understand the things that worked for them then will not work for us right now because things are changing, and we, as we always say, we should embrace change. So if really we can work on the things that hurt us before, so that we do not bleed on people who did not hurt us, can really change a lot of things.
So that we don't bleed
Yes,
on
on people who did not hurt us.
Yeah, I know this conversation is being watched by people like you and of course your parents, right?
Sure.
Including maybe her mom and her dad. From all this experience and the feedback you're getting from young people online, what do you wish to tell parents? What can they do better?
Let us stop being rigid with the things we knew before. Let us understand that our children are growing. They are starting to face life on their own. And by that, they are, facing their own kicks here and there. So to learn kuwa embrace. When someone comes, they have fallen, maybe you are in school, you've gotten pregnant, embrace them because you're grateful you have them as your kid. Why don't you be grateful that they will have their own? And then we support them and open our hearts more to life because life, things will happen. Even scripture says that you will be found by troubles.
Yes.
So these troubles will come, but how do we deal with them? Especially as parents, as the first people our children should run to.
I know there are not so many friendships last. Me, I'm blessed to have a very small circle of wonderful friends. And as you were talking just about her, I was just thinking about the Kagres I've had in my life as well. Not many friendships reach this level. Are you grateful for it?
I'm extremely grateful because Kagres is the one person that has known me since I was a child, and she's literally never left my side, through everything. Because you see, I grew up, I went to school, we reconnected. I came to campus, we reconnected. And somehow I thought that me becoming a mom would drive a wedge, because that happens a lot. Yeah, you have campus friends, you have a kid, and somehow you're not relatable anymore. Yeah. But I'm so grateful that she has taken on the role of Arya's auntie, and
Wow.
I don't know, I'm just so grateful for her.
All right.
Yeah.
Right now, I want you to do something before I wind up, but maybe I would want you to give people, no, let's start with what I wanted to end with, maybe facing each other. What do you want to tell each other?
Let me have your hand.
Oh.
No, I'm going to cry.
But Abby, yeah, I've never had a chance to tell you this before. But from the bottom of my heart, I'd want to let you know here that I love you so much, and remind you that you're not what you've gone through. You are not anything close to that. You are way much better. You're a brilliant girl, and we know that. And you're doing a very good job raising Arya. May it never get to a place you feel incompetent or inadequate to be her mom, despite anything that may come your way. Also remember that you can conquer it all. You've come a long way, and you're going to go even further. I pray that your dreams come true. You've mentioned to me so many times about them, and I pray that God fulfills them, and He blesses you with a good future with Arya and those that will come.
And you.
And me.
Yes.
Oh yes, I love you so much. And may God bless you, heal you, be for you, and take you to greater heights.
Thank you.
Oh.
Grace. I've known you since you were my Grace. We were so tiny in primary school, both of us. Yeah, alikuwa anaitwa Grace, mimi nilikuwa naitwa Mchicha, because my mom was working in the market, yeah. And I am so grateful that you're in my life, and you really have no idea how much I've relied on you. And you see, some things you may have done uko nyuma, unafanya tu just because you love me and you care about me, but you probably never knew how much you're the only one that I depended on at the time. And I'm so grateful for all the moments I've ever needed you in my life, and you showed up every single time without fail. For all the talking, sababu you see, sometimes you just need someone to talk to, you know, and I'm glad you've always been there. And I promised Grace I would buy her a car.
I forgot to mention that.
Yes. Someday soon, I'm going to buy you a car, okay? That's just something I promised her to go high school as a joke. And then at some point, I remember I told her, I didn't mean a real one, so I'll buy you a toy car. You know, I didn't mean it. But I really hope that life ifunguke, things go well for the both of us. I hope and pray for your career to flourish. When they be a nurse, go be a nurse. Mama, go save lives, you know. Help people as much as you've helped me throughout the years, and I know you're going to do great. And guess what? I'm going to be there with you every step of the way. Okay?
I love that.
Okay, come here. I love you so much.
And Arya too.
Yeah. Where?
You are a natural nurturer.
By God's grace.
Amen. I wish you all the best, Grace. I feel like we all need a Grace.
True.
In our lives.
And I don't know why, was it important to mention that throughout the years I've had many more Graces come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see
Gasheri is here, Arya's teacher is here. And Kwanza, Arya's teacher is one person I really, really hold dear to my heart, because she's like responsible for my daughter's intelligence and education, and the fact that she takes it so seriously and she does her work to the best of her ability. I really, really love her so much for it. Yeah. I've also met many other girls, ladies, beautiful, kind, generous ladies along the way to my side. I have one friend, very good friend, anaitwa Njeri. Njeri sasa hiyo time nikiwa Juja na njaa ndio tulikuwa sasa hivi na yeye unaona because she was just there for me all through tena nikiwa na Arya unaona.
And I love that you are acknowledging them. It's beautiful.
I'm so grateful for the circle I've built like throughout the years of people that I really love. Mildred, I know you're going to watch this.
Wow, take your time. I don't want anyone feeling left
out.
Yes.
I have a list.
Naweza kupublishia pia kwa screen.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, ni wataje wote.
The what you have in mind?
One other person is Rose. You heard me mention Rose, my neighbor. And it's because for the past 3 years since I moved into that apartment, you see neighbors are just people aujui what the meaning of a neighbor is. And in Nairobi kwanza, I saw someone's comment akisema venye now my story has inspired them to start loving their neighbors. You know, me and Gasheri met while we were neighbors. I shared that story on TikTok. She just knocked on my door and gave me milk and cake. Yeah. Gasheri. And she had no idea
that was all you needed.
That was all I needed because I was so hungry. Now when I tell you I was hungry, nilikuwa tu njaa, you know. Yeah, that's neighbors for you. So I really thank God for all of them.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I thank God for you.
Thank you so much.
I cannot wait for you to come back here with a testimony. I can't wait for you to tell me how the therapy sessions will go. I honestly can't wait to see what the future holds. And I want to affirm one thing. None of this is your fault.
That's something I really struggle with and I'll get there. Amen.
You know? Yeah. And of course, bro will watch before he comes to make our nails.
Yeah.
What do you want to tell him?
That, hey, Devi, you need to realize that it's just me and you against the world now. You see, tulizaliwa si wawili peke yetu and we have to have each other's backs, yeah? So I will never abandon you, yeah? And I love you so, so much. And I really hope itafika point you feel confident with yourself and feel worthy to be here, you know, despite everything that's going on in your life. Usiwahi give up. Kwa sababu me, I usually tell him, mimi siku give up na nilikuwa nalea, unaona? You really don't have an excuse. Nilikuwa na plan. Nilikuwa na mtoto. Because it's one thing I've told him before. I don't know whether it was appropriate, but I told him, when I was 20 years old, I was busy breastfeeding and I figured it out. So really, you can do it. You can figure it out.
And I believe he'll figure it out.
He will. And I will be there with him each step of the way.
Yeah, but so many people watching and they would want to get hold of you. I know right now you are a celeb pale TikTok, you know, but maybe for our audience who don't use TikTok and they would want to get hold of you, how can they reach you as we wind up?
You can find me on TikTok at Abi Wamboi or Maria with a hyphen somewhere. But if you just search Abi Wamboi, I'll come up. Or just search Mommy Issues. I'm sure by now you'll see it, yeah? On Instagram, Abigail_Wamboi.
Any phone number?
Also, my phone number is 0741 753 917.
All right.
Yes. Like I mentioned before, I am a florist and I make very beautiful bouquets, money bouquets, flower bouquets, chocolate bouquets, everything. So if you need to surprise someone for their birthday or anything really, hit me up. If you want floral arrangements for an event, hit me up. Good. I have a team of very experienced florists. Tutakuja, tutawafanyia kazi safi sana.
Yes, I'm happy for you. And they can order through the same number?
Yeah, you can order through the same number.
Yes.
Or on TikTok. My TikTok account for
the
flower business is Maria Candles.
Wow.
Yes.
I know what you've done. Maria, you've taken Mama Arya.
Do you?
You see me by this sijazeeka hivi venye mnaniangalia hapa like come on. Yeah, but allow me to wind up now. I know it's been one very beautiful conversation and I hope people on the comments, unaona nimeambia brother yako siwechangi kucha. Hii
Ushatoa,
nimetoa tu tukiwa
guy.
hapa like dear Lord. But I hope people learn something. But Grace, do you want to say something as we wind up?
If you have an opportunity to be anything out there, please be a good person, be kind, and embrace people. Love them. You do not know what someone is going through. Extend some kindness.
Good.
And to anyone who is going through any life issues out there, I wish you healing. I wish you, quick getting over it. Take your time. But first of all, accept that there's that thing that you're going through. And then pray to God that He causes you healing. And it is going to surely happen so that we do not carry it forward to next generations. And to Lynn and the Lynn Ngugi Network. Yes. Thank you so much for giving people opportunity to come and talk things out.
Yes.
You've seen how much grace it causes them to be able to pour out, and having to talk things out. That too is part of healing and getting over the burdens we carry. So thank you for this chance, for this opportunity, for this network. And may God bless you and increase your territories.
Amen.
As well as your team.
Amen.
Amen.
May God bless you all also. May He go before you, wishing you healing. And you are deserving of all the beautiful things you've ever imagined in your life.
Amen. And
Are we
thank
together?
you.
And thank you for loving your daughter. And I hope when mom comes around and she's healed, ready to work things out, just extend that grace towards her, But above all, I'm wishing healing for you so that you can be able to take good care of your daughter. Sawa sawa.
Thank you so much.
Shall we wind up? Are you sure? For real?
Thank you so
All
much.
right. That's my cue, guys. I would really love to use this platform to be able to talk to parents and kids. These are the people we are going to leave our nation with. So if we leave them this damaged, then our nation will be a reflection of what their journey has been. So for me, I'm always ready to use this platform to just bring awareness to such conversations so that we can be able to have them. And I know maybe there's a parent out there mwenye. This conversation again is not about her mother, whether she's a good parent or a bad parent. This conversation is actually, when you see the number of young people talking to her on TikTok, telling them, this is what I'm actually going through, those are not bots. Those are not people who are just using pseudos. Those are real people going through real things. So can we come together and just intentionally have conversation? When you become a parent, you become so much more because you have a being. Unajua anasemanga si watu tujaza tufai kuongea. But I feel like you have a being that you are responsible for and not the other way around. She's responsible for Aria. Aria is not responsible for her. And I feel like the sooner we get that in our head, the better. But I hope this conversation has served the lesson and the purpose it was meant to serve. But you know what I always do? I know, this girl is really destined for greatness. And when I say these things, it's not because the guest alinivuta kando akaniambia, Lynn, please. No. It's just from my observation. And you know what we do on this show? We elevate people. So whichever way we want to elevate her, let's do it. Whether it's emotionally, spiritually, financially, let's do it. She also has mentioned about her incredible brother who is in the nail and beauty industry. If there's anything we can be able to do so that it helps her brother and her daughter, let's do it. I've seen you guys doing incredible things. When I hear someone like Caro call me and tell me, Moha, they've received full scholarship in international schools. I'm like, who are you people? But then I'm like, isn't that the foundation of the platform that we've created together? Such that she looks back one day and no, strangers showed up for me in ways I would never have imagined. So if you want to get hold of her, whichever support, I'm not saying financially, but if that's what's in your heart, emotionally, spiritually, you want to just leave her a text. Her contact details have been on the screen. If we uplift her in her business, she's going to be okay. if we just uplift her and order those flowers and let her and her team come and do that amazing job, I know she's going to be okay. So of course, I'm gonna say thank you to the amazing sponsors. That's Kings Developers Limited and Maridadi Motors. Talked about them in the beginning of this video. Check out their beautiful products. Details also on that very first part of the video and pinned on the comment section below. But this one I wanna dedicate it to my team. It's been a long day for me, Muge and Scholar, and you guys have done amazing. Not forgetting Amaris for just being. We've spent a whole day filming a couple of episodes today. So guys, I appreciate you, and of course to our amazing editors and the team at LNN for just always making sure we get to be in the right mindset while doing these episodes. We are about to go get some lunch or some water. I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Be kind. You never know. You never know. You actually never know what someone is going through. It's a wrap. Leave your comments for me, your take home. Let's be respectful while we are at it. Bye-bye.